We got a quorum.
Oh, you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's coming back. He stepped out or
She said, he said.
something. All right. Good evening and welcome to the Joint Planning and Zoning Board and Board of Commissioners meeting of November 29th, 2022. I'm Rob Thomas, the Planning and Zone Vice Chair. Prior to this meeting, announcements were posted and notices were sent to all board members, commissioners, staff, interested parties, and applicants participating in the meeting. I will now turn it over to Dr. Ramona Jackson-Jones, Board Chair, to introduce and confirm the presence of the commissioners.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Thomas. Good evening to Douglas County citizens and also the Board of Commissioners and also to our Planning and Zoning Committee or team. Board of Commissioners, I want to start with roll call tonight. First of all, I'll start with myself, Dr. Ramona Jackson-Jones, the Chairwoman of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. And to my right, I'll allow each one of the commissioners, my fellow commissioners, to introduce themselves tonight. I'll start with you, Vice Chair.
Madam Chair, District 2 is present. Kelly Robinson.
And Jones Guider, District 4.
Tarania Carthen, District 3.
All right, thank you so much, Board of Commissioners. We do have a quorum. District 1 Commissioner is not with us tonight, but we do have a quorum, and I yield back to you, Vice Chairman Thomas.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Also present, we have members of the Planning and Zoning Board. Please confirm your presence as I call your name. Teresa Knowles.
Here, present.
Thank you. Ori Corey.
Present.
Brandon Penniman.
Present.
Frank Payne.
Here.
Kirk Nichols.
Here.
And Rob Thomas. We have a quorum. So we have the Planning and Zoning staff like to come up to introduce their members.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Tonight we have with us Deputy County Manager Frederick Perry, Assistant County Manager Tiffany Stewart Stanley. We have our Director of the Department of Transportation, Miguel Valentin. We have our Deputy Transportation Director, Suleiman Rana. We have our Senior Zoning Administrator, Phil Schaefer. We have our Planning and Zoning Board Clerk, Johanna Womack, and we have the Secretary of the Planning and Zoning Department, Kim Waters. Thank you.
Thank you. There is a revisionary clause that applies to each rezoning, and that goes this way. The applicant, the agent, or property owner has 24 months to vest the zoning changes after the Board of Commissioners has granted an approval. Tonight, procedures, kind of go over how it's going to go. The Chairman of the Planning and Zoning Board conducts each public hearing. Planning and Zoning staff will announce each application, followed by a full presentation of the application. The applicant or their representative and member of the public in favor of application will be able to present their information. They will have 2 minutes per person for a total of 15 minutes to speak on behalf of the application. Additionally, members of the public in opposition to the application will be able to present their information as well. They will also have 2 minutes per person for a total of 15 minutes to speak in opposition of the application. After the opposition completes their inputs or the time has elapsed, the public hearing will be officially closed. What does that mean? At that point, the staff will clarify any points of the zoning case. If the staff is unable to satisfy the board questions, the board will then ask the applicant for a point of clarity. This is not a time to represent the case, just answer any specific questions we may have to clarify. And at that point, the Planning and Zoning Board would entertain a motion. So our first agenda item tonight will be the approval of the minutes of the November 1st, 2022 regular joint Planning and Zoning and BOC meeting, Board of Commissioner meetings. Planning and Zoning Board, after reviewing the minutes, does any member have any comments, changes, or questions for either of these minutes? Okay, I don't hear none. Do I have a motion?
This is Frank Payne. I make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 1st, 2022 meeting.
Teresa Knowles, I second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. I'd like to call on each member to vote, starting with Ms. Teresa Knowles.
Yay.
Mr.
I approve them.
Okay, yay. Ori Corey,
Yay.
Brandon Penniman,
Approve.
Frank Payne,
Approve.
Kurt Nichols,
Yes.
and Rob Thomas approved. So we have a 6-0 unanimous approval. I will now pass it over to Madam Chair for approval of the Board of Commissioners.
Thank you so much, Vice Chairman. Board of Commissioners, you have had an opportunity to review the November 1st, 2022 minutes, P&Z, and Planning and Zoning and Board of Commissioners meeting from November the 1st, 2022. Do we have a motion to approve?
So motion to approve as recommended.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, Board? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 4-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Thank you, and I yield back to you, Vice Chairman Thomas.
Thank you. Mr. Schaefer, would you introduce the first agenda item and provide a staff recommendation and findings?
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, I would be happy to. The first case this evening is a request to amend the CHC Heavy Commercial with conditions zoning conditions to allow truck parking located at 2345 Sweetwater Industrial Boulevard, Lithia Springs, and land lot 667, District 18, Section 2, and Parcel 19. Size of this lot is 2.13 acres, and the application was signed by William E. Jones. It's in Commission District 1. Subject property fronts Lee Road at Sweetwater Industrial Boulevard. The site is currently vacant. Frontage along Lee and Sweetwater Industrial still retains some tree cover, and setback buffers would be a possibility. This is a zoning map of the property. Property is in red. It is between the I-20 off-ramp and Sweetwater Industrial Boulevard. To the north is an existing gas station that is owned also by the applicants, and they would be joining the two properties together in a plat combination to provide acreage sufficient to contain truck parking as well as the retail activities at the existing convenience store, along with the fast food operation that's on that site. The gas station that is on the site right now does have truck fueling islands as well as car fueling islands. The proposal is to install approximately 33 to 34 truck parking spaces on the vacant lot to the south. The site, as I said, was tree covered right now and would be improved to allow for the truck parking on that site, as well as connection via safe pedestrian crosswalks across Sweetwater Industrial to get to the existing convenience store. This is a photo of the site. Just to the north, as you can see off to the left, is the existing services and convenience store. Here's a look up the Sweetwater Industrial Boulevard at the corner there with Lee Road. Off in the distance is the off-ramp from the interstate. The criteria that staff reviewed are all supportive of this request, and staff is recommending approval of the request. The staff recommends approval of the rezoning request 2022-71 with the following findings and condition. Findings that the rezoning, A, will not modify the intent, purpose, or spirit of the Douglas County Unified Development Code. B, the proposed zoning is consistent with the comprehensive future land use plan. Categorization of this property as within the community village center area, incorporating varying mixed commercial uses. C, the uses permissible in the proposed zoning district are generally compatible with the surrounding properties. And D, the granting of the rezoning will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. We are requesting one condition of approval, that the applicant shall submit to the Development Review Committee for review and consideration the specific site development and access management plans to address the development standards in the UDC and the concerns and requirements expressed in the specific agency impact statements reviewed in the staff report dated November 29, 2022. And the DRC shall have discretion to direct staff to schedule a zoning action to be returned to the Planning and Zoning Board and the Board of Commissioners to consider rezoning of the property at the next regularly scheduled zoning hearing if the property fails to be brought into compliance with the required conditions or other applicable codes and regulations. And that concludes the staff presentation, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. We're now going to open the public hearing. First of all, I'd like to start with people that's in favor. Anyone, including the applicant or their representative, wishing to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium. State your name, address for the record. Then make any comments you would like. You have 2 minutes per person with a total of 15 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
My name is Jeremy Crosby, and I represent William B. Jones and Jones Petroleum. We own the gas station, convenience store, and Burger King there at Lee Road. And Mr. Schaefer did a good job going through our request, and we're just wishing to add truck parking there to this site. When the trucks get in there fueling, once they fuel, they don't have anywhere. They fuel, and if they come inside, they're blocking lanes, and they don't have anywhere to park while they go into the Burger King to eat or whatever. And we're just wishing to provide ample parking for the trucks getting off the interstate there when they come in with us, and to get food and fuel. So we'd just like to add to that, and I'll be happy to answer any questions anyone may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in favor of the application? Okay. You can have a seat, sir.
Thank
Okay. Now I'm going to open up for any opposition to this application. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you would like. You have 2 minutes per person with a total of 15 minutes. Opposition. Okay. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Are there any questions from the Planning and Zoning Board for either applicant or staff?
Yes, this is Brandon Pinham. I have a couple questions for the applicant, please.
Yes, sir.
As I'm sure you're aware, safety is a great concern in our community. So could you just describe to us some of the safety precautions that you're going to take as you're developing this, especially considering trafficking and how those things take place within the trucking industry a lot? What are some of your safety precautions, lights, fencing, and also could you please refer to what the parking is going to be? Will it be overnight? Will it be long-term stays? Will
No,
it be-
this will be for our customers, and as you know, I don't know if y'all are familiar, truckers have electronic logs now in their trucks. It's all electronically controlled, and they can only be on the road so long. And they have to get off for 2, 3, 4 hours, take a break if they've been driving 8 to 10 hours. So a lot of times they'll come in, those electronic logs are about to kick on, and they'll make the trucks go into idle. So they'll pull in 4 or 5 hours. Most of them are going to pull in for 30 minutes, fuel, come get a hamburger at the Burger King, a drink there in the store, and be gone. But then you'll have those that are going to be there for 4 or 5 hours until they're free to drive again and get back on the road. So we will have some of that, but no, we're not going to have long-term parking there. We don't want anyone parking there for 2 or 3 days, tying up a parking spot. We want it to be able to, customers coming in and out using the store and getting fuel. As far as lighting, we'll do a photometric lighting layout, and we'll light it as bright as the county standards will let us. I'm sure y'all have photometric standards, because I think we had to deal with that when we were building the convenience store. But we'll light it with down lighting and pole lighting up to whatever the county maximum is to provide a well-lit lot and make sure it's safe for everyone.
Awesome. And for clarity's sake, so this is free parking that'll be provided just for truckers? Or
No,
will this
it won't be free. If you're going to be there more than 3 or 4 hours, like 4 or 5 hours, we'll have to charge, because it will be a significant cost putting this parking lot in. So There will be, if you're there more than like 3 hours or something like that, there will be a small charge.
Have y'all specified those details yet, or is that something that's still in the
That,
works?
all of our, I just handle our construction and development, our operations folks set up all those prices. But if a trucker usually comes in and purchases, 200 gallons of fuel, we have discounts and stuff where he can park for free for like 6 to 8 hours, stuff like that. We have, just like any of our competitors do. If you're in there spending a lot of money, we're not going to charge you to park on our lot.
Duly noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Or Kurt, I have a question.
Yes.
So you're saying that they're going to park there, so how many parking spaces are you looking at having at that particular place?
Roughly, our site plan was 33, 34 max. You can't get more than that on that lot.
Okay, 33, 34 max?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
I have one question, sir. Thank you. Will you have any security or any person employed to monitor the trucks?
We will have a well-lit lot. We will have security cameras on the lot. Usually on our light poles, we also have security cameras that will be tied into the store's security system. But if needed, we would have an off-duty officer or something like that. But our findings on other sites, we've got a big travel center in Jackson, Georgia, one in Cartersville, Georgia. And if you light the lot really well and keep it clean, you don't have that many problems. Lighting is the key. Lighting and security cameras, and we don't have many problems at those other two sites.
There won't be a fence or any barriers or connected to the lot, will there?
No, unless the county requires it between us and property owner. No. Yeah, we'll have it all landscaped around it. It'll be maintained by our landscape maintenance crews. At the same time, they maintain the landscaping of the store and keep it looking nice.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question, Mr. Schaefer. Was there any conditions with this? I want to make sure. And make sure that he's agree upon those conditions.
Yeah, there was one condition that they come back to the DRC. So I can, right here, that the applicant will submit to the DRC for review and consideration the site-specific development and access management plans to address all of the concerns of our impact statements in the staff report. So you can make sure that he's agreeable.
So if you come to the microphone, please, just make sure that you approve and agree with the conditions
Yes, sir.
set forth. Okay.
Yeah, we do not have a problem with submitting our full development plan back to the DRC to
All right.
review.
Okay, so I'll make sure that. Any other questions from Planning and Zoning Board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Mr. Penniman asked about overnight stay. Is this being set up for overnight stay for trucks, or is it purely up to the trucker itself?
Yeah, that'll be up to the trucker. I mean, if a trucker rolls in at midnight and leaves at 8 a.m., I don't know what necessarily defines an overnight stay.
Okay.
But we don't want anybody there long-term. We could move more people, more truckers, fuel, sell more goods, the more people move in and out, because if you get a bunch of people there long-term, it fills up your parking lot, and then it's not available to other customers coming in.
So what hours is your convenience store open?
It's 24 hours.
24?
Yes,
Does
sir.
it have showers?
No, sir, we do not have showers.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions from the Planning and Zoning Board? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
I
sir.
may want to stay close.
Okay.
Okay. Madam Chair, I yield the floor to you and the Board of Commissioners for questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chairman Thomas. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions at this time? Commissioner Guider, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. I'm not full. Is it Mr. Crosby?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what you said? Okay. What kind of surface will it be? Will it be impervious or pervious surfaces?
It will most likely be concrete. One reason we try to do concrete versus asphalt paving is when you light the concrete surface at night, it reflects the light up and makes the lot a little bit brighter, helping with the safety issue.
What are you going to do about the water runoff? Because if you're going to pave it.
Our civil engineer will meet all the county standards. He'll have to do a full hydrology study on this lot and submit that to, I think the stormwater is handled by the Water and Sewer Authority. Yes.
But you may have to put a retention pond, I don't know.
Oh, it will most likely, it will have to have retention. It'll be underground and out of view. The Marathon and Burger King across the street there that we have has a huge underground retention system. You don't see it, so it's nice it's not seen.
Okay. Also, will there be a tree buffer around it?
We'll meet whatever the county standards require as far as landscaping on a commercial lot.
Well, it's covered with trees, so I thought maybe you could just leave some that's there.
Yes, ma'am. By the time we put underground retention and grading, we'll probably have to remove most of them, but we will replan around the perimeters just like we did on the store when we did it.
Okay, and when does a trucker have to stop? I mean, how long does he have to stop when his time is up to drive?
I'm not sure of all those rules. Our truck guys that run our trucking, I just know the electronic logs require them to, after so many hours, they have to get off the road. The new trucks are even programmed, they'll go in.
They shut down.
They'll shut down.
Well, I know it, and if, all you have to look at is our ramps on our interstate, because they're having to park on the shoulder. But it's really not all their fault, because the law was passed before how to enforce the law. Our provision for the parking was established, so.
I heard about a year ago, GDOT said they're about 4,000 truck spaces short every night in the state of Georgia for trucks to safely park across the state of Georgia. And that was a year ago. They may need more by now.
Well, one last question. Sometimes truck lots or something, is there going to be some kind of policing to make sure no illegal activities go on?
We will have it lit, we'll have security cameras on it, and we would love for a sheriff's deputy to drive by in it every day, and if at other locations, if we've needed off-duty officers, we've hired them. But our experience is if you light them well, keep them clean, it keeps the riffraff out.
Well,
So-
right down the road on I-20, they closed that parking area because it was so close to Atlanta and bad things was happening. So I just wondered if you were going to be policing. If you caught somebody doing something illegal, would you throw them out, make them leave?
I would call 911.
Okay.
That's-
Good answer.
I just I can't enforce the law. I leave that to the officers.
All right. With that, I yield back. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Crosby.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Ryder. Any other questions, Board? Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Real quick, the staff, is this District 1 or District 2? I think it's District 1. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Correct.
All right, got it. So that's right on the border. I-20 separates District 2 and District 1 by about a few yards, football field. So I-20 and 33 slots, these double-decker, single trucks, tell me what type of vehicle goes in there?
Your typical 18-wheeler pulling a 53-foot trailer.
Got it.
Or even, we're right there at the quarry.
Yep.
With the quarry there, I mean, the dump trucks could pull in there and park if they want, while they walk across to the Burger King and, park so they're out of the way too. So I imagine a lot of the dump trucks going over to the quarry at lunchtime will use it.
Okay. All right, so 33 slots or lots, dump trunks or tractor trailers. Do we unload or are we just parking? Are we just overnight, and I stay there, or am I leaving my vehicle or my car or whatever it's called?
No, we don't allow folks to drop trailers.
Ah,
No, you've got to keep it connected to your truck, ready to go. No drop trailers.
all right, so it's a pause.
So
It's more of a pause.
there's folks that'll try and drop a trailer on your lot, but no, we do not allow that. And we'll have it posted with a local tow company for any drop trailers, stuff like that, to have them removed.
Okay, now I'm just trying to distinguish. Okay, so yours is just more of a park and go versus a parking drop.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, so, okay, I get it. And you have security, you're monitoring this, you've got a relationship with the sheriff, the tow truck, et cetera, and it is 24/7?
Yes, sir. We run our store there. The convenience store is open 24/7, and the Burger King, I think, closes at midnight and reopens at 5 a.m.
I understand. I understand. So to staff, you guys should know the federal law in I-20, because we've talked about this. How long does a trucker have to be on the road or have to get off the road? Can y'all answer the question, please?
Cannot answer that question. I don't know the hours for the federal government's requirements.
Let's try this a different way. We've had this down on Thornton, where they could actually park trucks and they're leasing and subletting, et cetera. And again, we're trying to make a decision here. Right? I'm trying to understand what is the impact it says that as people come down I-20, what is the federal rules that y'all got to get off the road? What is driving demand? It is federal regulation. And so is my county attorney, is somebody here that can answer the question for us? Because some of this should be anticipated. I'm just trying to understand. I mean, we're having an intelligent conversation. I'm trying to understand what he's asking for. It's just not a yes or no. I am awake. So you guys don't know, you got time to come back to me and answer the question. I don't want to belabor this point, but again, I get it. It's the end of the year, last meeting, but it's still important. You know, Douglas County is about being progressive. We're taking a hit on I-20. We're the ones stepping up. We're the ones that's creating an atmosphere that says, we welcome you. I'm just trying to understand it. As decision makers, we need input. I need my staff of 1,200 strong to somebody advise us, including this Planning and Zoning Board, on rules.
So Commissioner, I will add one thing to help you understand. The property in question in 2002 was approved for rezoning. The recommendation by the Board of Commissioners at that time was to include specifically truck parking in a retail setting. So it's been approved for truck parking by a previous Board of Commissioners. It was never developed. This retail center never developed. And what they're asking now tonight is to have you review what they're asking and complete the process by viewing their existing retail operation as what was originally approved to be allowing the truck parking to go in on this property. So that's that piece. Now, your question is to the law in terms of the future, the other part of the law as to 14-hour driving?
Yes.
Yeah, for 14.
The general hours.
No, I understand that, and that's the ask. But there's sort of the landscape. I got to look at legal, regulatory, all these things that go into my decision-making.
Commissioner Robinson, according to the Georgia Department of Public Safety, this is Brandon Penniman, according to the Georgia Department of Public Safety, it says the 10-hour rule is that drivers are allowed to drive 10 hours.
So somebody's conflicting with you. Can y'all, I need to hear this. Go ahead, sir.
According to the Georgia Department of Public Safety, it says that the 10-hour rule is that drivers are allowed to drive 10 hours following 8 consecutive hours off duty. And according to the 15-hour rule, a motor carrier cannot permit or require a driver to drive after 15 hours are spent on duty following a 8 consecutive hour off duty. So in general, 10 to 15 hours is the maximum that a truck driver can be on the road.
Yeah, thank you, Planning Zoning Board Member Penniman. It was that quick. You got the internet. We shouldn't have to go study stuff. You can answer me right here in the moment. I like the younger generation. Right there in the moment. I mean, don't marginalize what I was asking. I get it, but I still want to know what I want to know. So, I'm good, Madam Chair. I just wanted to understand what I was looking at. It's the difference between parking goal versus, sort of the resting versus dropping off. And I just really wanted to understand that. And I'm trying to speak on behalf of District 1 that's not here tonight, but I recognize that we both share that same border. So my questions were relevant. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm good. I yield the floor.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Carthen?
One question, and this is probably for staff, not you. Have we looked at what the traffic will look like in that area?
As far as,
Have we looked at the traffic? What will be ingoing, outgoing? How will traffic be impacted
the
in the
traffic
area?
analysis for
Yes.
this site, yes, for 33 trucks, you would expect to have in terms of what they're proposing, a handful of trucks each hour coming in and then using the fueling islands, and a handful of those would be parking. So you can expect a modest increase in terms of the truck traffic, where you would have an extra several trucks per hour using the islands, and then being able to park, and then being able to use the facilities, and then exiting. So each few hours, depending on whether they're eating or actually have to stay, as Commissioner Robinson noted, for the number of hours that we have to have them off the road, they might be there for 8 to 8 hours sitting, in which case you could not have that many trucks using the facilities, because you would be using up the truck parking spaces.
Exactly,
Yeah.
okay. I was just wondering, especially since there is other entities around there, and of course, they will be happy because they can get some economic development.
Right, and as you recall, we approved the truck parking and
Right.
fueling station on Vulcan, just across
Right, on the other side of that.
side of
So
the street.
I was just
So-
wondering, what would
competition.
that impact, right,
Yeah.
right, be with those trucks on
And that one,
there?
was, I think, was just for about a dozen parking spaces.
Only
Again, for this,
12.
about a dozen truck parking
Oh,
spaces on the
okay.
Vulcan one.
Okay,
But the same idea, parking just so they can use the facilities.
got you. And again, this is not to
'Cause I see-
impact any of the surrounding businesses. So the applicant, have you had a chance to talk to the other businesses, just to let them know that this is a possibility, that it would be coming?
No, ma'am. One thing that it will help the surrounding businesses is we're in an industrial area right there.
Right.
And the
Mhm.
trucks will probably appreciate the ability to park for a minute
Oh, I
and come in and
appreciate it. Yeah.
use the restroom, get a Coke, get a burger, and then go on and make their delivery at the industrial locations around there. I know several of
Yeah.
our other sites in other areas, people have thanked us because they get on their lot and they want to park there, and they're like, you can't be on
You
our lot
can't,
parking.
right.
We need you to unload and get off. So
Yeah.
the industrial folks are, usually happy to see a nice area where they can park. Their trucks coming to them can stop, park, and do what they need to do for an hour or two. So,
And so just from your question answers, this is something that you all have done before, so you're well versed in this, and,
yes, ma'am.
okay, all right, thank you. With that,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair, I yield.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Carthen. This is a question for the applicant, and also just a remark. This is a question for applicant, and it's just a remark. I'm thinking about the shoulder of the I-20, where the Lee Road, where you exit going west. There's a lot of trucks along that shoulder, so that probably will certainly help, I hope, because I'm not sure if they're just parking there, going to the store, what have you. So that'll take pressure and give us some sort of relief. So that's something that is exciting to me, and I'm quite sure for those truckers. Just want to talk a little bit about environment, a little bit environmental. You mentioned one of my favorite words, cleanliness. As you keep your lot clean, you have trucks parking. Sometimes trucks, just like cars, leak oil, fuel. What are your plans? Do you have a degreaser that you will utilize at night to clean that parking lot so you won't have any slips, falls, or anything like that? I'm just curious.
We will contain all of our stormwater. We'll go into our pond, and we'll have a water control, quality control mechanism that the engineer will design to help filter out that water as it leaves the site. We've got a big underground detention facility now at the Marathon, and everything goes through it. And I remember when we were putting it in 2018, we had a big water control structure that was specified by the engineer and the County Water and Sewer Authority upon their review that required that water quality control. And I'm sure they're going to this one may be even more stringent than that was in 2018.
Okay, thank you. You answered my question.
Thank
I yield back to you,
All right.
Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Planning and Zoning Board, you heard the presentation and discussions. Any concerns of this matter? Do I have a motion from the board?
This is Brandon Penniman. I make a motion to approve application Z 2022-71, a request to amend heavy commercial. This is correct application, 71, correct?
Yes, 71.
Okay, the request to amend the CHC Heavy Commercial with conditions, zoning conditions, with the following findings and conditions as presented by staff.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Frank Payne, I second.
I have a motion and a second. I'd like to take a vote. All in favor, raise a hand, please. A little quicker this way. All right. Madam Chair, I have a 6-0 Unanimous? Pass it over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vice Chairman. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I carry and make the motion for Z 2022-71 as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Board to approve.
Okay, thank you so much.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Board, any questions? We have or any discussion? Board, we have a motion and a second. Please indicate by raising your right hand if you're, okay, we have a 4 unanimous vote and the motion carries. I yield back to you, Vice Chairman.
Thank you. Been
Thanks
for your
approved.
time, Board.
Good luck to you.
Welcome.
Good luck.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, please.
All right, thank you. The next item on the agenda is S 2022-72. This is Mr. Isaac Dennis. This is a request for a special use permit to allow a short-term rental from the home located at 3306 West Stewart Mill Road in Douglasville, land lot 129, District 2, Section 5, and parcel 122. This lot is .56 acres, and this is Commission District 4. What you have presented here this evening is the zoning map showing the zoning on the property. This is a residential low-density district. And here is an aerial image showing the situation of the property. Here is a view of the property from the street. This is a request for a special use permit to use the property for a short-term rental. As a reminder, this is a type of lodging that is allowed by special use permit. This will be lodging for 30 days or less, so this will be a type of transient lodging. When staff analyzed the criteria under the code, we did find that the request was substantially compatible with the special use permit criteria in the code. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of the requested special use permit with the following findings. Number 1, the use will not modify the land use plan or the intent, purpose, or spirit of the Douglas County Unified Development Code. And number 2, the granting of the special use permit will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. And we have included our typical directive to staff that we will go out at the 1-year mark and make investigation on the property to ensure that the property is compliant with all of the requirements of the Unified Development Code in regard to short-term rentals. However, that includes my report. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you. We're going to now open up the public hearing. Anyone in favor, including applicant and their representative, wish to speak in favor of the application, please approach this podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you would like. You have 2 minutes per person, total of 15 minutes.
My name is Isaac Dennis, and I own the property. Actually, how this started during the COVID. I have a
Property address, sir?
Say that-
Your property address? Your
Oh,
address?
yeah. That's the 3306 West Stewart Mill Road,
No,
Douglasville, Georgia.
your address.
Thank you.
We need his.
Oh, actually, your address, your home address.
Yes, that's it.
Okay. So that's different than what you have here on the short-term rental for the application.
The 3306 West Stewart.
No, right, okay, West Stewart Mill, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine, you get that.
I haven't done one of these before, so.
All right, no worries.
Yeah, so what happened here is that during the COVID season, I have a cousin who is a nurse. So he asked me to come and stay at my place so that he had a contract to work with Grady. So he went and did some job with Grady, and then he told others that, oh, I have a relative that have somewhere very nice you can stay while you do your nursing contract. So it just happened like that, and people started calling. Each person left, another person called. So they helped them work through the COVID, and I decided to make it legal. So I applied for special use permit.
Okay.
I had discussed with my neighbor. I haven't had any problem with them, and it is a quiet property. It's amazing that I meet people from all, now it come to be all over the United States that comes to Georgia. I had last week I have a musician that came by and stayed, sometimes writers. It's a very quiet place and a quiet neighborhood.
Okay. Well, thank you. You can have a seat or stand by. Is there anyone else in favor of this application? All right, hearing none. I will now open the floor to opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this application, please approach the podium. State your name and address for the record. Make any comments you like. You have 2 minutes per person, total of 15 minutes. Opposition. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Are there any questions from the Planning and Zoning Board? Or staff, for the staff or applicant?
Yes, sir. Can you step up? Mr. Isaac? Isaac Dennis? Yes. I have a question. Based on you having as a requesting as a special use permitted to kind of like have an Airbnb, how is the parking there in the facility for people who come by and stay? How is the parking?
Yeah, the property has two driveways, so one is mine, the other end of the property, that's where the entrance is, and there's another driveway.
Okay, will they be staying is it another facility like a basement or another spot?
Yeah, there's a little, like a in-law suite.
Okay.
Attached to the property on the other end, so there's an entrance from there, so there's a lot of parking, I would say.
Okay, there will be a lot of parking.
Yeah.
Okay, I have no other questions. Thank you.
I have one question. Do you have any type of criterias that's set up in order to, review the people that are going to stay there?
Yeah, I personally, what do you call the property rules, and then since it's through Airbnb, they scrutinize the customers, check the ID, and make sure that it's safe for them to be there, and also check that my property is safe for them. as well.
So it will be handled by Airbnb?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions from the Planning and Zoning Board? Okay. Thank you, sir. Madam Chair, I yield the floor to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chairman Thomas. Board of Commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner Guider?
Yes. She has her hand up, but it's not my
Ma'am,
place. It's not
the
my
public
place.
hearing, Miss, I apologize to you, but this, Miss
Ms. Williams?
Ms. Williams.
Ms.
Ms.
Williams,
Williams.
the
My name is Linda Williams, and I live right across the road from the zoning for
Excuse me.
rental.
Excuse me, the public hearing is closed. I'm sorry.
Yes, yeah.
Pardon?
The public hearing is closed.
Yeah, I don't think she can hear
Sorry,
us.
the chairman's
Oh, I
already
didn't
closed.
know.
I apologize. It's no problem. No problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dennis, where did he go?
Yeah, Mr. Dennis, if
If
you
you
could
could
come
come-
forth, please. Thank you.
Sometimes it's hard to hear in here, especially if somebody way down there is talking.
Yeah, I'm trying to,
And I've got this southern drawl, and you don't speak southern drawl, so. Are you going to be living in the house, or are you living in another house close by?
I live in the property.
You live in the property. So you're renting a room or a basement out?
It's not actually just a room. It's like an in-law suite. And what I've done in there as well is put in an office in there because most people come by.
Excuse me, could you please talk to the mic so we can hear you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Most people are coming there and want to do the office work. So there's an office desk in there. There's a king-size bed, bathroom, set up like that.
Kind of like a little suite
Yes,
of their own? Okay, but you live in that house also?
yes.
Okay. So it's just going to be one bedroom, so you can't rent it out to a whole family or anything like that? Okay.
Usually there's only two persons that come by.
Okay, and did you say you were a nurse?
No. Now, I'm trying to explain to you how all this started during the COVID time.
Uh-huh.
I have a cousin that is a nurse. So he asked me if he can stay at my property to work at Grady from California. So he came by when he went to Grady, and they asked him, where do you stay? So he told our nurses where he stayed. So they all began to call and say, can I stay? So it was before they were, I gave you something to clean up, or I gave you something for electricity bill. But then it went on through the COVID. I'm an insurance agent. It was a little bit tight. So I continued it, and then now I just want to make it legal. That's it.
Okay. Well, I wasn't sure if I heard whether or not you lived in the house or you had another house close by, because you said you had two driveways, so it could have
Yeah,
been
the property
two
has
houses.
two driveways.
Okay, so this is just short-term, no more than 30 days.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay. I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so
You're
much,
back.
Commissioner Guider. Any other questions, board? All right, if no questions, I'll yield back to you, Vice Chairman.
Oh, great. Thank you. Planning and Zoning Board, you've heard all the presentation, discussions concerning this matter. Do I have a motion from the board?
This is Frank Payne. I make a motion to approve application S 2022-72, request for a special use permit to allow a short-term rental in the residential low-density zoning district.
All right, thank you. We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, this is Kurt Nicholson. I second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Planning and Zoning Board would like to vote on a motion to approve. Please raise your hand in approval. All right, I see 6-0. Madam Chair, motion carries with 6-0. Turn over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chairman. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion?
Yes, ma'am. I make a motion to approve application S 2022-72 as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, board. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. When I call your districts, please respond accordingly. District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
Chairman, yes. We have a 4 unanimous vote and the motion carries, and I yield back to you, Chairman Thomas.
Thank you. Mr. Dennis, you've been approved. Thank you, and congratulations. Good luck to you.
Yeah, congratulations, Mr. Dennis.
The next item on the agenda, please.
Mr. Vice Chair, the next item, S.
Yes, I would have to, yes, thank you. On this one, I have to, Vice Chair, have to recuse myself. It's on conflict of interest.
Thank you.
All right.
Sorry, Mr. Kirk. The special use permit S 2022-74, Isaac Dua, a request for a special use permit to allow for an accessory apartment located at 3535 Brook Hollow Drive, Douglasville 30135, Land Lot 104, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 237, lot size .2 acres, application signed by Isaac Dua. It's in Commission District 2. The property is located on the west side of Brook Hollow Drive, and the site is developed with an existing residence. This is a zoning map of the property showing it's within the Brook Hollow Planned Unit Development Subdivision. This is the aerial of the property showing it, the house at 3535, surrounded by houses on either side and across the street, and then to the rear is a drainage easement. This is a photo of the house from the street showing the parking in the 3-car garage. And here is a look down the street, Brook Hollow coming in from Bomar, and the entrance to the subdivision itself. Staff has reviewed the special use permit request against the criteria, find that the criteria substantially support the request, and we are recommending approval of this request with the following findings and a condition. Findings are A, the use will not modify the land use plan or the intent, purpose, or spirit of the Douglas County Unified Development Code. B, the granting of the special use permit would not adversely affect the public welfare. And the single condition is that parking for the accessory unit must be provided on the premises and no parking shall be permitted in the public right-of-way. And that concludes my presentation, Mr. Vice Chair. I turn it back over to you.
Thank you. I'm now going to open up the public hearing for this matter. Anyone, including the applicant or their representative, wish to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you would like. You have 2 minutes per person with a total of 15 minutes in favor, including the applicant. Yes, including the applicant.
Good evening. My name is Isaac Dua. My wife is a nurse, and as a matter of fact, she's trying to use the basement for personal care home. So I decided to put in a stove. That was when they asked me to get a special permit for that. So,
Okay.
I don't know why they.
Just real quick, state your address as well. Make sure-
3535 Brook Hollow Drive.
Okay, thank you. So is that any of your comments? Any other comments? Pertaining?
No comment.
Okay.
Just-
That's fine. That's fine. If you have any questions, we'll call you back.
Okay, sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else in favor of this request? Okay, hearing none, I will now open the floor to opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you would like. You have 2 minutes per person, a total of 15 minutes.
My name is Marilee Clayton, 24B Foxhall Drive in Douglasville. I am the Community Association Manager for the Villages of Brookmont. The Villages of Brookmont is bound by covenants. And in the covenant in Book 183-4, page 471, Article 3, under Restrictions, Section 8.1, it says that the development is for residential purposes only. Each lot shall be used exclusively for single families. So as far as him renting out the bottom, or he's setting up as an apartment. So we just feel that at this time that it should not be.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, that'd be
All right,
it.
well, thank you. Anyone else here in opposition like to speak? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. I'm Joan Hanson. I live at 5058 Sapphire Court here in Douglasville, 30135. When you Google this address, what comes up is expert care for the needy. This is a residential neighborhood. This sounds like a business to me, so I would be opposed to that. Thank you.
Any others in opposition? Okay. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Is there any questions from the Planning and Zoning Board?
This is Brandon Pym. I got a quick question.
From the applicant?
This is not from the applicant, and legal, if you'll let me know if I'm stepping out of place in this. I have a question for one of the people who spoke in opposition to the application. Is that okay for me to have her come back? Yes? Okay.
The public hearing is closed, so she can't come back.
Right. So I don't want her to speak on anything. I just want her to reread the ordinance. I just want to make sure I heard it clearly what the ordinance were from your neighborhood.
In Book 1834, page 0471, it's under Article 3, Restrictions, Section 8.1, residential purposes only. Each lot shall be used exclusively for single family, including the townhomes, non-transit residential purposes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, thank you. Now my question's for the applicant. If I got the applicant come forth, please.
And a point of order, quickly. Did you understand the conditions, the one condition that was presented as far as the parking cannot be on the street, have to be in the parking lot or in your driveway?
I mean, there's going to be zero traffic.
No, I'm saying parking, like for people that come to stay there, they have to park in your driveway. That's one of the conditions.
That's why I said whoever wrote the application wrote it wrong. I didn't say apartment. I wanted to put a stove in the basement because my wife is going to use it for personal care home. So it's for old folks, about 3 people that she's going to be taking care of, so they don't drive. It's zero traffic.
Okay.
Okay. So
Does it make sense?
No, if you could pause for a minute. I have a question for the staff on this one. Got to clarify this. All right.
So the explanation is that whenever someone puts a stove into another unit, it becomes a habitable unit. And so the special use permit was to allow for a habitable unit because he's put a stove in the basement. You can have a bathroom, You conceivably could have a bedroom. But the moment you put a kitchen in, which is what a stove represents, it becomes a separate, potentially separate and second residential unit within the home. And so that's why the special use permit is being processed as a second residential unit within the same home. It's the stove that triggers this. I appreciate it, yeah. So that's the explanation as to why it's a special use permit.
Understand. Okay. So the condition doesn't really apply in this case?
It would still apply if you were having cars coming and going. We would not want any of the vehicles that would be visiting or coming to the property parked on the street.
Okay. All right, I understand. Come to the podium, please. So can you kind of clarify as to what you're going to be doing? And, I mean, once you get the stove in, that's fine, but you mentioned your wife does personal care.
Yeah, my wife has applied for a permit to use the basement for personal care home.
And explain that a little bit so we understand.
Personal care home is taking care of the elderly people.
So you have clients you have elderly people going to be moving into that space?
Yeah, about 3 people or 2 people living in that space that she's going to be taking care of.
And how long is this
It's going to be
arrangement?
temporary for maybe about a year or 2.
Okay.
All right, question. Has that permit that you're referring to for the personal care home, has that already been approved?
Yes.
And it was approved through the county?
Yes.
Okay, so.
It's not finalized, but it's in the process.
So it's been applied for, but it has not been approved?
Well, according to my wife, there's been a zoning. It's been zoned for that.
Okay, but you're not, staff, do we know if that permitting has been approved by chance?
So if we can clarify, in regard to personal care homes, we do have a category of family personal care home that is allowed in the residential district. For a family personal care home, it has to be owner occupied, and the resident manager has to own the property,
Okay.
right? So that is a use that is allowed by right in a zoning district.
Okay.
As we tried to clarify earlier, the assumption would be in a family personal care home that you're not having a separate dwelling unit, right? So you would use your own kitchen to cook and care and prepare meals for whomever you're caring for in that personal care home. What triggers the need for the special use permit in this one is the fact that they're applying for basically something that is a wholly self-contained separate living unit. In this instance, the applicant is proposing to use that as a personal care home, right? But under our code, that meets the definition of an accessory dwelling. And on parcels under an acre, that still has to come back to y'all for a special use permit. Does that help clarify
Yes,
the distinction between
it
the
draws me
two?
to another question. So, and this may be for you as staff. So, with the ordinances that the neighborhood has under the homeowners association, would that apply, or would that stop that in-home business from being allowed or being permitted?
So
with
while
the
there may
ordinance?
be covenants that prevent him from doing it, that is not our purview. We don't enforce covenants.
Okay.
You know, I can't stop you from taking it into consideration, but the reality is that's not what we enforce. They would have to enforce that through the homeowners association.
Okay, so the homeowner association would have to take legal action after the permitting was allowed?
If you were to approve this, then technically, yes, the homeowners association could take action against the homeowner for violating the covenants that are enforced, and which we would assume they would have read when they bought the property, since everyone by law is required to have a copy of those covenants upon purchase of a property subject to the covenants.
Thank you. Mr. Dewar, are you aware of those covenants that they were referring to as far as not allowing in-home businesses in your neighborhood?
Not really.
Okay, understood. All right, I think that closes out my questions. Thank you.
Any other questions from the Planning and Zoning Board? Okay. May want to stand by. No other questions? All right. Madam Chair, I yield the floor to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chairman. I just have a question for you regarding, I noticed that you said this would be used for a personal care home. You said 3 residents. I have questions regarding that. The Georgia Department of Community Health has primary responsibility for licensing individuals and facilities providing personal care services. You have the license, sure, and you have all that?
It's in the process. I'm just finishing the basement, and I wanted to put in the stove. That's when I requested for this. So regardless of the stove, we're still gonna go through that process. So even if I don't get approved for the stove, I'll still go through the process if I can, like he said, use my personal kitchen for, to serve their meals, so.
Yes, okay. Because you realize that these residents must be ambulatory, walking around, able to do for themselves, no behavioral health conditions, which requires the use of physical, chemical restraints, isolation, or confinements. The residents they must not be bedridden. They must require continuous medical, or if they require medical or nursing care on a continuous basis, they cannot be really confined to that space. That's just something that I'm actually just researching. So, in my opinion, you're putting the cart before the horse. You need to get license and approval from the Department of Community Health, if that's what your main goal is. I'm just not sure what your goal is.
Sure,
It just sounds like you
we're
just
going
want to
through
start.
that. So this is not to request for a permit for that or license, and it's a separate issue.
You
So
just
this
want a
request
stove.
was the stove that.
Okay, I want to focus on what
that's
you're
right.
asking for, just a stove.
Yeah, just the stove. My wife is in there, so she's taking care of the license and all of that. So this is not about approval of
Okay.
those issues.
All right, well, thank you. You've answered my questions. Any other questions, Board? Vice Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brooke Hollow. Oh, boy. All right, so let me get this right. HOAs. Separation between county and HOAs. Oh, boy, this is good. So we're saying we can't enforce, but we tend to enforce code for parking, everything else in HOA communities. That's for the record. I'm marking this. I'm gonna show inconsistency. But let me come back to, let me make sure I get this right. Brookmont, very nice community. Oh, Lord, let me make sure I get this right now. But I lived at 3272 Brook Hollow, and you got a finished basement with stove and kitchen, everything in the bottom, and you telling me what now? I gotta ask for approval when it was already built in? Say that again?
No, I went.
No, it's not you, this is staff. I gotta hear this. Tell me these guys got these houses there, they got 2, 3 levels, kitchens, everything already in there, and you tell me what they gotta do? Because this is new to me. I wanna see how we gonna extend this enforcement. He's building out his house. I got this. He's building out his house, I get it, but for those guys who already came, it's already 2, 3 levels. Fireplaces, everything, multiple rooms. And what you saying? Well, multiple driveways. Already built in. We approved it. And you're saying that if somebody had that, they gotta come back and do, what about a stove when the kitchen's already built in? I want that answered. I wanna hear this one. Somebody from staff answer my question. I just was out at Brook Hollow. I was at my town hall. I got this. All right, come on, staff. Talk to me.
So the answer to the question is, of course, there are homes with multiple levels, multiple kitchens, multiple bedrooms, and we do not bother them as long as they're not renting anything out, as long as they don't apply for a second residence within the residence itself. But technically, if you have a stove and you have a bedroom and you have a closet and you have a second floor with that stove in it, it can qualify as a second residential unit. That doesn't mean it will be used as a second residential unit, but it does qualify as one.
So you charge your niece and nephew downstairs to come live in a home because they couldn't live on their own. They come home, you're gonna charge them rent. This guy's sitting here trying to, do the right thing. I hear you. Guys, I just have to challenge the system sometimes because I look at how we conveniently apply rules. I'm like, yeah, but you're supposed to put a stove in. Did he really have to come for us to put a stove in? To Madam Chair's point, yeah, he's got to go through the regulatory. Now, you got to get through that. I can't help you over there. That's state regulated. I can't help you, nor can we. I'm challenging. My job is to make sure I hear when staff is putting forth things. I want to make sure I know what I'm listening to. Now it gets into the character area. Now I get it, I get the HOAs. And so my question is to the applicant, did you talk to the neighbors about what your intention was? Now, again, I may be eligible for a personal care home, so this gets real for me. Oh boy, I can't see, who gonna take care of me when I can't even find my shoes? Now, I don't need an activity of daily living. I can still do for myself. This is good, that's why I'm here, to fight for the little guy. Now, talk to me. I may be eligible for a personal care. I can bathe, I can cook, I can clean, I can do all that. But there's personal care, assisted living, and nursing home. I know all three. Now, you're saying you're doing personal care, you just need somebody to spot for 1 or 2 years. I get it. You're gonna rent it out. The question really comes down to, do we want rental units in Brookmont, in the villages? I get it. But I gotta do my job. I gotta do this and keep it honest. But have you had a chance to reach out? You already said you didn't read it. So, lack of knowledge does not exempt you from conditions. You've got to go through this process. And it is really the discretion of this board. I hear it. Does it set a precedent? Are we going to change the character area of that community by allowing this? And that you know, and I get it. There's a fine line. And that's what you guys hired me to come down here for $2.50 to ask these tough questions. Now, what you about to do? It's not could we do it, but should we do it? And this is a good one. I just want to make sure that with staff, I had to challenge y'all on, wait a minute now. He just put the stove in. Everybody else got finished basements and everything else, and he just about to finish his out. You making him spend how much money to come in here and do what now? He didn't have to really do all that. Just finish it. I mean, I get the permitting process. You know I get that. So it's for the record, though. All right, so this, I got to keep staff clean. You know, I need my question answered when I want them answered. Don't misdirect me. All right, so I think I got it. I think I know where I'm at on this one, Madam Chair. For the most part, I get it. Last question regarding HOAs. Now, you have a U.S. Constitution and a Georgia Constitution that the four of us at least took an oath to defend. We're not city, but we also recognize that you have HOAs, y'all have your covenant, which is like a constitution that you agree to manage yourselves with, and we choose not to overreach. So this is what I'm trying to make sure. So it's sort of, well, the HOA pretty much says that we don't want this in here. We don't want this in here. Now, are we to enforce or not enforce? But yet there are paths forward. I don't need no legal help. I got this, county attorney. I'm just curious as to, should we even be having this conversation? Why is this before us? Like I say, he hadn't got that far. He just trying to put a stove in. He's just trying to put a stove in. You know, and y'all making them go through this permit, but I get the politics because the community don't want it. So the staff just pushed this and threw it up to us. That's what happens. Staff threw it up to us. They could have been shut this down. They threw it up to the planning zone, who, you know, obviously it comes before us. That's what this is about. So now we got to sit here and render this tonight. Okay, fine. I think, you know, again, I always got to lean on the side of the residents, and I respect character areas and precedents, and I get that. I just didn't. Sometimes y'all got to take a position. I've been like this all day. So this is one of those days like, y'all, I done told y'all quit letting stuff come before us. Y'all could have settled this. I'm done. I'm good.
All right, thank you so much, Vice Chair. Any other comments? Commissioner Guider, you have the floor.
I respect property rights, but at the time you bought this house, you signed a contract with them. You signed on that you were going to pay HOA fees, so you were aware of the covenants. the stove, I don't get that. I bet you there's a lot of stoves out there y'all don't know about, that people have finished their basements, and you're unaware of it, but just putting in a stove doesn't mean you're making an apartment. Is maybe for your kids to live downstairs or something like that. But the fact is, you signed a contract at closing when you bought the house. And I don't know how we can override, I mean, we're actually overriding their covenant with you, with their contract with you, or we're encouraging them to sue you. So I have a problem with that because HOAs have a purpose. People voluntarily buy in a HOA community. I don't have that problem. I live on acreage, but but I do respect property rights, and I think you could put a stove in there whether or not we approve it or not. But you still sign that contract. So you were aware that you couldn't, this is going to be a business. This is not going to be, you're not going to rent it out, you're going to take care of some people. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's a need for it. And, you know, we're all going to probably need it at some time. But I don't know that if you had that plan, you should have checked covenants to see if it was allowed in your community.
Well, I checked with the zoning and they say it's allowed. So.
Planning and zoning doesn't override the contract that you signed with the HOA. That's the thing about it. We're just here to approve a stove. So I commend, your desire to help people, but they have property rights too, and that's why they have an HOA there to restrict certain things in the community. So I don't like it coming before this board either. We need to look at this code section about putting a stove in. Mm-hmm. Because there's too many people out there that have finished their basements. They may not have a stove, but they may have a refrigerator. Does that qualify for the same thing? So why a stove? Maybe that's where the den is and they don't want to go upstairs to cook something, popcorn or something. So we need to look at this code. I think this could have been settled before it got to us. But anyway, I yield back, madam.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Fider. All right.
Madam Chair, yeah.
Can I get one in?
No.
It's just one. Certainly, Vice Chair, you always say follow the money. I'm following the intent. And the stove is, as we mentioned earlier, you don't need to come before us regarding the stove, but the intention is for this elderly care or the elderly care, that's concerning to me. That's why I just kind of put my teeth in it immediately and told you the Georgia state requirements to kind of change your mindset. So that's very important. So I just wanted to say that I'm in agreement with my fellow board members that you probably don't need to be before us for a stove, but just if you, in my opinion, need to rethink your intentions. You wanted to say something, Vice Chair?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, this is something that's important that we know. This whole HOA, the coexistence of HOAs, and it's something that I'm probably going into my 7th year on making sure people are educated about HOAs and their power. That's why I'm very versed on this. Like, ooh. And I get staff, and they allowed us to really. I mean, there's certain. I mean, again, it's allowed to Madam Guy's point if we overrode, but then we're overreaching. Mm-hmm. You guys agreed to run yourselves like your own local constitution. Stay out the way. Right? You guys finished your basements, your homes. I mean, we don't want to get into that. We're educated. Don't do that. We know doggone well that them houses got multiple layers, multiple kitchens, multiple, like, don't do that. And we try to act like we don't know nothing about this, please. That's an insult to this board and the planning and zoning board, so I get this. I just had to say it for the record. And that's what the stuff comes before us, and we're trying to rationalize, like, okay, why are we talking about this? Don't put us in this place and we try to act like it's legit, and it's not. And it's unfortunate, but it could have been shut down administratively. And sometimes they allow stuff to be pushed out there. That's my problem. Now we got to be here and do this political thing, like, okay, this ain't even political. Right? I mean, if we're going to respect the company, then stay out of it. Don't sit, the board can override it. Now you done put it on us. Do your job. That's what we pay y'all to do. Stop stuff from coming before us and slowing down our agenda because stuff y'all can administratively do. I keep having this conversation. This will be the last time I do it. We're going to finish this year. That's enough of this. Wasting these people time, everybody come down here. You could have set this expectation. I mean, say no. I have no problem saying no, but the point is, come on, guys. I mean, you ain't got to give people false hope. Y'all know y'all setting this up because now we got to deal with this. I'm done, Madam Chair. I yield.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Vice Chair. I believe no other comments. I yield back to you, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Planning and Zoning Board, you have heard the presentations and discussions on this matter. Do I have a motion from the board?
It's Brandon Penman. I make a motion to deny application S 2022-74.
Thank you. I have a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
Frank Payne, second.
I have a motion and a second. Please raise your hand in approval of the denial. Okay. Madam Chair, we yield back to you. We have a denial from the Planning and Zoning 5050 denial.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chairman Thomas. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to accept the recommendation of denial of this application as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Board, any discussion? I have a motion and a second. When I call you districts, please respond accordingly. District 1, and he's not here, I'm so sorry. District 2? District, okay, District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
Chairman, yes. We have a 4 unanimous vote to deny S2 22-74. And the motion carries. I yield back to you. Did I give the right?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Put his stove
Apologize for
in.
that, but I understand.
Let him put his stove in.
The next agenda item, please.
Oh, yeah.
All right, the next item on the agenda is application S 2022-75. This is an application from David Deese. Again, this is a request for a special use permit to allow for a short-term rental. This is at a property located at 3495 Rainbow Drive, Winston, Georgia, 30187, land lot 125, District 2, Section 5, and parcel 145. The lot size is approximately 1 acre, and this is in Commission District Number 4. Here you have before you the zoning map showing the property, and here is an aerial view of the property. Here is the street view of the property. This property is the second home of the applicant. At the time that they are not occupying it, they propose to offer this property for let as a short-term rental. Staff has evaluated this request against the criteria for special use permit in our code, and we have found this to be substantially compatible with the request. Therefore, staff recommends approval of this request for special use permit S 2022-75 with the following findings. Number 1, that the use will not modify the land use plan or the intent, purpose, or spirit of the Douglas County Unified Development Code. And number 2, the granting of the special use permit will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. And again, we have our typical directive of staff to go out and make inspection at the 1-year point to make sure that they are compliant with the code. And this concludes my staff report.
Thank you. So there's no conditions?
No, sir.
Okay.
We propose no conditions.
All right,
in this
thank you.
application.
Thank you. I will now open up the public hearing First, we're going to start with the in favor. Anyone, including the applicant or their representative wishing to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium. State your name and address for the record, then make any comments you would like. You have 2 minutes per person for a total time of 15 minutes.
Yes, my name is Octavia Graves, and this is not my address. I live at 362 Hardy Road, but this is the second home for David Dees. I'm here on behalf of him, and we are just wanting to use it as an Airbnb. We will comply with all regulations and whatever requirements are needed for short-term. And that's it.
We cannot hear down here. She needs to get closer to the
Okay,
mic.
so my name is Octavia Graves. My address is 362 Hardy Road. I don't live here. This is my boss's house, but I'm here representing him. This is a second home. He only comes maybe once or twice a year, so he's wanting to use it as a short-term rental, as an Airbnb. But we will comply with all regulations or whatever requirements are needed.
Well, thank you. Anyone else in favor of this application? All right. Hearing none, I will now open up for anyone in opposition of this application. Wish to speak, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you would like. You have 2 minutes per person, total time of 15 minutes. Opposition. All right, hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Planning and zoning, is any questions for the applicant or staff?
I just have one question. Could you come up, please? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I've never spoke publicly in my life.
Now, you mentioned that you representing your...
Yes, correct. I work for him. I have for 16 years. Yes.
Okay. Have you talked to any of the neighbors as to what
Yes,
you're
yes,
doing?
yes. I talk with them frequently. I go over, I check on the property, make sure everything's, one of the neighbors actually used to work for us several years ago. So yes, I talk to them frequently.
So the house is vacant as of present?
I wouldn't say, it's furnished, but nobody is there on a regular basis other than Airbnb rental. That would be it.
Okay. Now, who will be monitoring this?
I will. I do. I manage everything for him.
Okay. All right, no further.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the Planning and Zoning Board? All right, I'll yield the floor back to Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Board of Commissioners, do we have any questions for the applicant or either the staff?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Commissioner Guider?
Yes, and this is to staff, I guess. Is this limited to the 30-day or less?
Yes, ma'am. This is coming before you as a short-term rental, so they are wanting to be able to rent this for under 30 days, which is why it comes before you as a special use permit. They will have to obtain a business license for this use, and they will have to pay their hotel motel tax as a requirement. of their
Okay, and this
special use
was
permit.
caught during your review of the
Correct.
Airbnbs?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Because she said she was already doing it.
Correct. You will notice that is a common theme tonight with our folks who have come before you for short-term rental. So this is part of what you had asked us to do, to go out and seek out those properties who may not be in compliance, who are actively listing on Airbnb, VRBO. We are utilizing the services of a third-party vendor who uses their algorithms to find these properties, and we work with property owners to come into compliance.
So the applicant spokesperson, your boss is aware that this is for short-term?
Correct.
lease
Yes, ma'am.
And only 30 days or less?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. I yield back.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. Any other comments, Board? Vice Chairman?
Right, so we got this Airbnb, like HOAs. And so we got these subdivisions. You have these properties, and again, I get the game, I get the business, I get property rights. Right? The society has shifted. And so now you've got these different models that, wow, they're commercializing these residential residents. So on one hand, we're saying, no, you can't have 1 to 2 years in a residential community, because that's like, whoa, but we're allowing short-term rental. Uh-huh. I get it. You're already doing it. You're coming compliant. Thank you, Allison. Thank you. You did what we asked you to do. Thank you, Mr. Carter. Yep, we found them. But again, these are different buckets. One is short-term, one is long-term. I'm distinguishing a difference about what we just heard, two different cases. But it's all about doing commercial within residential communities. We're allowing one, but not allowing, we're not allowing one, and we're considering to allow or not allow the second one.
No HOA.
No HOA. All right, so, all right, thank you. Is it a subdivision? No HOA, so it's dormant. All right. Thank you for that clarity. So only if it had a HOA, and if it had a HOA and it's inactive. So, all right, so here's the question. So does staff know all the HOAs and who's active and who's inactive when we got to make decisions like this? Do we have a list that y'all can tell us? Now, I thank you for submitting that. Thank you for your transparency. Thank you for your integrity. I got it, but do we know staff?
We do not have a list, sir, but as a reminder, it was staff's recommendation to approve the last application as well as it is our recommendation to approve this application.
I appreciate it, but that was the last one. We said no.
Understood, understood, but if
All right.
I understand your
Stay,
point.
that's not what I asked you.
Fair enough.
I didn't ask you that. Don't do that.
Okay.
Don't ever do that here.
Yes, sir.
All I asked was a simple, did you have a listing of HOAs? You
We do
tried to
not.
side, don't ever insert nothing like that on me. Don't do that. That wasn't necessary. See, that's my problem. That right there. It was an easy question. I wasn't challenging. I'm actually setting this up. You and your feelings and your emotions in the moment. Be professional. Don't ever
Apologies.
challenge
I
a
misunderstood.
sitting committee. No.
I apologize.
I've been doing this all day. Y'all feeling yourself some kind of way.
No, I apologize. I had just misunderstood your question. I thought your question was the difference between the previous
That's
application
not what I
and
asked you.
this
Don't do that.
application.
See, you're still going.
Yes, sir.
A simple question. Do you have a listing of active or inactive HOAs?
No, sir.
Thank you. Don't make me stand up in here. Don't do that. I can't believe you did this. Really. All right, so I made my point. Thank you. I've got my question answered. I was just trying to get some information. We're trying to make decisions. That's all I'm doing.
Yes,
I'm just
sir.
trying to get information. I just want to know, it was perfect. I had no issue until you turned sideways.
Understood.
See, stuff like that.
Thank you, sir.
Messed up this person's case because of staff shenanigans. Madam Chair, I'm gonna let you deal with this. Madam Chair, I'm gonna give you the floor. Thank you.
Any
Madam
other
Chair?
questions? Okay, Commissioner Guider?
Yes. Allison, if you would come back, I
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate you trying to keep us informed and everything. The assessors would probably have a list of HOAs because they have the amenities that they have to send the bill to someone, and it's listed under an HOA. So
Yes, ma'am.
you might could get it from them. It would be nice to know when people come up whether or not they're in a HOA because like Commissioner Robinson said a while ago, that it's kind of like a constitution to live there
Sure.
in that area, so.
Well,
but-
we will certainly seek clarification on that going forward, and if it's the will of the board, we
Okay.
can evaluate that. But my understanding is that as a government, we cannot enforce the provisions of HOAs, but I promise all of you up here tonight that we will make sure
I
that we
still
understand.
say we need to kind of look at that.
Right, we will make sure that we understand what our parameters are in doing that going forward.
Okay, thank you for your
Yes,
help.
sure thing.
Thank you, bye.
Okay, any other
I
questions?
yield back.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. Any other questions, board members? Okay, being no questions, I yield back to you. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Planning and Zoning Board, you heard the presentation and discussions concerning this matter. Do I have a motion from the board?
This is Frank Payne. I make a motion to approve application S 2022-75, request for a special use permit to allow a short-term rental in a residential low-density zoning district.
Thank you. May I have-
Teresa Knowles, I second.
Thank you for your second. When I call your name, will you please respond in kind? Teresa Knowles? Teresa?
Yay.
Ori Corey,
Yay.
Brandon Penniman,
Yay.
Frank Payne,
Yay.
Kirk Nichols.
Yes.
Rob Thomas, yes. I yield the floor back to Madam Chair with approval 6-0, or approval of S 2022-75.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vice Chair. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion?
Yes, ma'am. Make a motion to approve application S 2022-75 as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Madam Chair, I second the motion by Commissioner Gott.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, Board? Okay. We have a motion and a second. When I call you districts, please respond. District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes?
Chairman, yes. We have a full unanimous vote and the motion carry. I yield back to you, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
Where'd the applicant go? Okay. Congratulations, you're going to approve? All right.
Okay.
All right, well, the next agenda item, please.
All right. The next item we have on the agenda is S 2022-76. This is an application submitted by Wade McDonald. This is a request for a special use permit to allow for a short-term rental. This is property located at 5441 South Lake Drive in Douglasville, 30135. This is Land Lot 10, District 1, Section 5, and Parcel 30. The lot size is .46 acres, and this is Commission District Number 4. So here before you is the zoning map for the property. And then this is an aerial view of the property. Here is a view of the property from the road. Again, this is another one of the short-term rentals. We have been working with property owners who choose to use the property in this way to bring them into compliance. So this would be for rental less than 30 days. Staff has analyzed the criteria in the code for the special use permit, and we have found this request substantially compatible with the Unified Development Code. So again, staff recommends approval of this request for special use permit for S 2022-76 with the following findings. Number one, that the use will not modify the land use plan or the intent, purpose, or spirit of the Douglas County Unified Development Code. And number two, the granting of the special use permit will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. And again, with our directive to staff to go make investigation on the property at the one-year anniversary to ensure compliance with the code. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. I'm now going to open up the public hearing. For the people that's in favor, anyone including applicant or their representative wishing to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you would like. You have 2 minutes per person for a total time of 15 minutes.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, sir.
I am Wade McDonald, and my address is 5441 South Lake Drive in Douglasville. So I am the owner of the house. I live on the on the second floor of the house, and we have an in-law suite that we turn to a Airbnb. And we have guests that are primarily nurses. That are just temporarily just wanted to live in the area less than 30 days. And like I said, I live there, so we have monitoring with security, and we also have a dedicated parking spot on property, so they're not parking on the public roadway.
Okay. Well, thank you. Are there any others in favor of this application? All right, thank you. Hearing none, I'm now open the floor to anyone in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you would like. You have 2 minutes per person, total time of 15 minutes. In opposition? Okay. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Planning and Zoning Boards, any questions for the applicant or staff?
I have a question for Mr. McDonald. So your Airbnb is your downstairs level? Do they have a separate entrance, or do you share an entrance?
It's a shared entrance, and then we just have surveillance that's just monitoring coming in and out.
So they have a code, they
Correct.
push in the code?
Yeah, we normally welcome them. It's a little bit, just a little bit better hospitality, but yeah. But
Okay.
they have a code just in case.
So you mostly just deal with nurses?
It's just a suite, so it's only one bedroom, but yes. Nurses, just, people just wanting to visit mainly, and, but primarily nurses.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Mr. Wade, are you in a subdivision?
Yes.
Is there covenants?
No. We are also not under HOA.
No HOA, okay.
No HOA.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant or staff? All right. Madam Chair, I yield the floor to you for the Board of Commissioners for questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chair. Any questions, Board of Commissioners?
Just to clarify.
Okay,
please.
Commissioner Guider, you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. McDonald, you said you're not in an HOA.
No.
Okay.
I am not under a
What is
HOA.
the subdivision that you live in?
So I'm not under a subdivision.
You're not in a
I'm
subdivision?
not under a subdivision, I apologize.
Okay, because you said you had about 4 acres or something?
No, it's less than an acre.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a quarter.
I didn't catch your address when it was
Yeah, 5441 South Lake Drive.
South Lake?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. I just wanted to know if you were in HOA.
No, yeah, thank you.
Any other questions, Board? Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
Yeah, again, just for the official record, because we got to codify history sometime. Think about the movie Forrest Gump when she's renting out, she's doing hospitality. And you're renting rooms. Now look at how life has, that was what, back in 1992? About 20 years ago. That was a movie, but still, it mimics life, art does. And I'm listening to this, I'm like, okay, look how things have shifted. People have been renting homes and renting rooms as much as they need to make a little extra change, and if they were just doing hospitality, it's just how they did it, especially down here in the South, and I understand, right? But now it's becoming more institutionalized, it's becoming more regulated, right? And so society shifts, it progresses. And we have to ask these questions because now society shifts, so government got to catch up. So we got to ask our question. We need information to understand what we're looking at so that we're consistent in how we do things. And so there's a new awareness to Allison Duncan, right? You did what we asked you to do. Go find them. Now we're bringing it back in. Okay, now we're looking at, okay, now what do we drag in? Now what are we looking at? Right. But we need the information to be able to make wise decisions and be consistent, that we're just not spot decisioning. So I hear you. I think I understand what you're trying to accomplish, and thank you for coming in and being willing to conform to the conditions and both conditions and expectations. Madam Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, Board? Certainly would like to publicly thank the citizens of Douglas County and some of our applicants tonight that are really honing in on our nurses. That's key, particularly during this pandemic, and you all. I just want to thank you for accommodating our nurses. And I yield back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Planning and Zoning Board, you have heard the presentation and discussions concerning this matter. Do I have a motion from the board?
Brandon Penniman, I make a motion to approve application S 2022-76, a request for a special use permit to allow a short-term rental in the RLD Residential Low Density Zoning District.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Teresa Knowles, I second.
I have a second. Planning and Zoning Board, I'd like to take a vote.
Mr. Chair, Vice Chair.
Yes.
I believe I have an opportunity to make a comment.
Sure.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is in Mill Glen subdivision. This is not some street out in the middle of nowhere. It's actually part of a subdivision. So I don't understand why the applicant said it was not in a subdivision.
Is it too late for him to come back and clarify?
Point of order.
Yeah, we in motion.
We're in motion at this point.
Can go.
Generally, I agree with you, sir, but normally we make a motion and we get a second, and then the question is asked, does anybody have any comments? This is my comment.
Yeah.
I understand. But it's a comment, but not necessarily for him to come back
It's
up.
not a question, it just, I don't.
Just a comment,
understand.
that's fine. Sure.
Thank you.
You don't have to answer. No, you don't have to answer. Any other comments? Okay. Well, I'd like to take a vote in favor of the motion to approve SS 2022-76. Please raise your hand. Approval. Thank you. Madam Chair, I yield the floor back to you with a 6-0 unanimous decision to approve.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chairman. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have the motion?
Yes, ma'am. I make a motion to approve application 2022-76 as approved by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Okay, do we have a second?
Madam Chair, I second Madam Guider's motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, Board?
Yes, Madam Chair.
You have the floor.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, I got this duly noted. All right, so again, to all applicants, current and maybe future, I get that sometimes this is intimidating, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And this is why I pay staff what I pay them, which is to ensure that things are factual. I don't think there was any intent to mislead. I don't play those games. It's just simply, because again, if you're not aware, it's okay. But staff should be there to make sure what's in and what's out, to make sure that they've done their research, that they've given us support to understand what this is. I just had to say that because it triggered, like, but why are we yelling out from the floor out of order? But I got it. Don't let your meeting get away from you like that. Like, no. But still, I'm going to acknowledge, because this is Douglas County. This is how we vocal, we vote. I get it. But we can do better to prepare the board, both Planning and Zoning and the Board of Commissioners, to ensure that we're talking about fundamental facts. If the point is for Airbnbs, well, is it in a subdivision or not? It's relevant. So these are things that we're learning. So the point is you give enough grace. Anybody say, no, it's all good. It doesn't shift wherever you are. It's just the fact that, okay, now we know to make sure that next time we come through here, we've done that type of things, because those are the type of questions we got. So it doesn't look like there's some type of foul. I don't want the applicants to feel as though that, like, all of a sudden, like, okay, come on. Some of this is called staff research. Prepare us, right? And so it's not an inquisition. We just want to make sure we understand what we're looking at. And at the end of the day, it's a yes or no. It's the will of both boards. It's called democracy. It's okay. Sometimes it goes, sometimes it doesn't. But we want to make sure we got the facts, and as we enter in and we consider certain things that may be relevant, I mean, again, we're not trying to move the board, move the facts and stuff, say what's true or not true. That's not what we're trying to do here. I don't want you to feel that way, no matter what the outcome of this board's decision. It's just like, come on, guys, we can do better than this. Let's tighten this thing up. All right, I'm trying to have for the education of the group. I yield.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Commissioner Guider?
I would propose that staff, in the legal description, instead of just the address, to include in such and such subdivision, and that will at least alert us to that, because this is a very obvious subdivision. I know where Mill Glen is. I did not know where South Lake was. I don't know all the streets. And so it would help us to know whether or not it's in a subdivision. We're going to have more of these. I know this is kind of new to us, so we've got to get used to it, but it just make it easier for us to know right away. And that way we can, if we don't know whether or not it's got a HOA, we can at least know to ask. So I somewhat agree with, Commissioner Robinson in this. just helps us, okay? And with that, I yield back.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner. Any other questions or remarks, Board? Okay, I yield back to you, Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman.
We didn't vote.
Oh, you know what? I'm so
Point of
sorry.
order.
I got ahead of myself. I yield
keep it right.
back.
That's right.
Okay.
Go ahead, baby.
Okay, we had a motion and a second on the floor, Board. We had a motion and a second on the floor. When I call your districts, please respond accordingly. District 2?
Yes.
District 3? Yes. District 4?
Yes.
Chairman, yes. We have a 4 unanimous vote and the motion carries. Please forgive me for moving ahead
been a
so
long
quickly.
day.
And the motion carried. Now yield back to you, Vice Chairman.
Congratulations. Keep
Thomas.
Thank you.
I zoned out.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Congratulations. You got approved.
Okay.
Do good. Next item on the agenda, please.
Mr. Vice Chairman, so the next one's a little change. This is special use permit 2022-77 for Josh Russell. The request is for a special use permit to allow an automated car wash located at 2727 Highway 92, Douglasville, 30135, Land Lot 129, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 12. The lot size is 2 acres. The application is signed by Josh Russell. It is in Commission District 2. The subject property is located on the west side of Highway 92, Fairburn Road, just south of the Bomar Road connector, just south of the gas station. The subject properties were considered for zoning entitlement as part of a rezoning for the racetrack fuel station, and that was Z201607. So in 2016, when the racetrack was approved, this property was a part of that to be zoned CH at the front part of the parcel. All of parcel 11 was zoned CH. The subject parcels did not end up being incorporated into the fuel station, so they have held the zoning for all these years and just never been developed. And there's a house on one of the properties. Now, I'm going to show you this picture. I know it's a little bit smallish on the right-hand side. The top picture is what you previously approved. The subject property in that section was approved May 2nd, 2022, under Z 2022-40 and S 2022-41 for a car wash. That was the original request. You approved it. When they came to us in the DRC, we discussed with them how it could be redesigned for a more for a safer arrangement of the buildings and the parking lanes. The fire marshal was quite adamant that the original design wasn't quite up to speed, up to snuff in terms of how their trucks would have the ability to get around the property site. And so what they've done is the picture on the bottom. They've come and asked you to approve an additional piece of land to go into the special use permit boundary so that they can adjust the site plan itself and allow for a much safer flow through the property for emergency vehicles, as well as, if you'll look on the right, they're moving the entrance to the site much further to the south, away from the existing entrance to the racetrack. That entrance to the racetrack has a raised island that forces a right-in, right-out turn from the gas station onto Fairburn. And we were afraid that if we left the gas station and the car wash entrances too close, people would come into the right turn decel lane and bounce over that island, and it would become an unsafe situation. And so in order to facilitate the safety of the site, they've agreed to go ahead and acquire the next property to the south, rearrange how the site works, and then allow for, they'll come back through the DRC, obviously. We'll have some construction requirements as far as landscaping and facades. And this is a picture of the aerial so that you can take a look and see. The properties are currently, there's a house on the front, but there's, not used, but there's vacancy, a vacant property with woods in the back. The site will get developed. This is a picture into the site from Fairburn showing you the racetrack on the right and the site to the left behind the trees. Again, here's Fairburn. The property itself is on the right. The entrance will be down approximately beyond that. I don't know if you can actually see the yellow signpost, but where the car is on the road is about where the new entrance would be. So it gives it ample room for vehicles to go into the racetrack safely or realize the car wash entrance is further up and then get to the right-hand deceleration lane more safely. Staff's reviewed the criteria for the special use permit, and all of the criteria support the request. Staff's recommending approval of the special use permit with the following findings. The use will not modify the land use plan or the intent, purpose, or spirit of the Douglas County Unified Development Code. B, the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive future land use plan categorization of the property as within workplace center area incorporating mixed commercial and industrial uses. And C, the use will not negatively impact surrounding properties. And D, the granting of the special use permit will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare. I have several conditions I would like to ask you for. Number one, any other use of the property not identified within Section 210 uses allowed in each zone district, specifically Table 2.5. Principal uses allowed by right, and 2.6 accessory uses allowed by right of the Douglas County Unified Development Code may require submission, review, and approval of a new special use permit. 2, the property is subject to the OHC Highway Corridor Overlay District development standards requiring brick facades and additional landscaping. Number 3, parking and queuing must be contained within the property. No queuing into the public right-of-way shall be permitted. Number 4, a lot combination plat will be required to combine the several parcels and provide a single parcel for construction of the facility. And number 5, the applicant must present their plans for compliance with these conditions and any other applicable portions of the Unified Development Code to the Douglas County Development Review Committee. DRC shall have discretion to direct staff to schedule the zoning action to be returned to the Planning and Zoning Board and the Board of Commissioners to consider rezoning of the property at the next regularly scheduled zoning hearing if the property fails to be brought into compliance with the required conditions and other applicable codes and regulations. And then staff's directed to go out at the annual anniversary and inspect to make sure that everything has been done according to the code. With that, I turn it back over to you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Shaver. I will now open up the public hearing. Anyone in favor, including the applicant or their representative, wish to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you would like. You have 2 minutes per person, total 15 minutes.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Josh Russell with Paulson Mitchell. I'm the applicant. My address is 85A Mill Street, Roswell, Georgia. So as Mr. Schaefer said, this has previously been approved. Our client is looking to buy an additional parcel of land to combine together to change the site plan. There were some restrictions that Racetrack had next to us that prevented us from putting the building where we wanted to, as well as there were some issues whenever we got comments back about the fire layout and concerns about emergency vehicles and stuff like that. So we feel this will give us a better, more spacious layout. We're not going to be trying to cram it down like we kind of were. A few things I wanted to note. It is a full-service manned car wash. They're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. This is for attendants to wash towels. This is for them to stand at the pay kiosk to help select a car wash. This is for them. They'll quickly brush the front and rear of your car just to prep you for the tunnel. And I think that is it. There's an average of 500 cars a day. So as Mr. Schaefer said, we've kind of worked with the Department of Transportation a little bit to get GDOT on board, as well as Douglas County DOT, to work with them to find that sweet spot of where we need to put the drive to serve us best.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in favor of this application, please approach the podium. All right, seeing none, I will now open the public hearing to opposition to this application. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of the application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you would like. You have 2 minutes per person, total time of 15 minutes. Opposition to this application. Okay. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Planning and zoning, is there any questions for the applicant or staff?
Mr. Brandon Pittman, I got a quick question for Mr. Josh, please. Josh, is there a brand name for this car wash?
Yes, Tidal Wave Auto Spa. So they started in Thomaston, Georgia, which is just south of here, and they're primarily operating throughout the southeast, North Carolina, West Virginia, Georgia, obviously, Alabama, a little bit in Florida. So.
All right, that concludes my questions. I yield the floor.
Yes, I have a question. Or Curry. Right here. Okay.
Sorry.
So I know you had talked about safety of, making sure that people can enter and exit as well as fire and emergency vehicles.
That's correct.
And you said that there were about how many cars that plan on coming to that car wash?
So they average about 500 cars a day per location.
And you said Monday through Friday, what was the hours of operation?
So it's 7 days a week.
7 days.
And it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Yes.
And it's going to have minimum, 3 staff members, basically? Because you said somebody to wash.
Yes, at a minimum, I would say at least 3. I think normally it's 5 to 10 range, probably somewhere around 7. I'm the civil engineer, so
Okay,
I don't
okay.
work for them, but I think they normally have 7 or 8 staff members.
7, 8, okay, all right. No
I
other
have a
questions?
question for Mr. Russell.
Okay.
Yes, sir. You purchased the adjoining lot, is that correct?
I don't know if they have completely closed on the lot or not, but they are in the process of working on closing on that lot if they have not.
So the beginning, you had like an acre, and now I'm going to
Correct.
have,
Just buying the next piece of property.
so you'll have like 2 acres total? Is that what it's going to amount to?
Total will be 2.15 acres.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
Any other questions, Planning and Zoning Board? Okay, great. Madam Chair, I yield the floor to you for questions.
All right, thank you so much. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant or either the staff at this time? Vice Chairman Robinson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just real quick, so for staff, clarify, you said next to the racetrack, Lee Road and Bomar. Say that again? Where is this exactly?
This is just south on the west side of Fairburn, just south, literally adjoining the racetrack gas station.
So is it at the Publix intersection?
Yes,
There we go.
yes.
All right, so you're at that corner, right there with
On
Lee
the
Road
Beaumont
extension.
connector side, yeah.
Right, the Lee Road extension.
Yep.
There we go.
There you
I
go.
gotta say language so my peers know where this is going. Got it. All right, so this is right there on the corner. Got it. And I do remember this pre even the extension conversation when the racetrack went in. I understand exactly what it is. I'm glad to hear that you worked it out with GDOT and with our fire marshal, which is always important. And you stayed at it and made your investment to make this work. I believe in openness and competition and all those things. So no further questions, Madam Chair. I yield. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay.
Yes,
Commissioner
ma'am.
Guider?
I would just like to know what that small parcel is right in the middle of it.
So it's an old house.
It's a house?
Yeah,
It's
there
a
was house there.
residential
Yeah.
house?
It's not used.
It's not used.
It's going to be part of, all of that will be torn down, all of that will be removed for the new facility.
Is there any way to get back to
Yeah, the map will show it. So as you take a look at the right-hand side, you'll see that the driveway crosses where the house exists. At the top. Here's the aerial, the little parcel in between has the house on it. And the piece to the right shows that property, and the driveway is running through the house.
Are you saying they plan to buy the,
It's already bought. That was already approved.
oh, that's already approved?
Yeah, so if I go back to the...
As part of this?
Yes, correct. So if I go back, wait, I'm going the wrong way, sorry. If we go back to this picture, what was approved is, at the top of the screen is the lighter yellow was rezoned to commercial, and the house is already at the front. It's where that little narrow strip touches Fairburn Road. Just to the south of that is the house, and that was already zoned commercial along with the racetrack. So that was a part of an older rezoning. And all we asked you to do I guess that was May, was approve the rezoning and the special use permit for the car wash initially. And that took in the RLD property and turned it into CH property.
But it looks like it's a separate parcel
It
right
is.
next to the driveway.
Yeah, they all are separate right now, and we would like them to combine them as a plat,
So tonight, we're just doing the checkerboard,
the checkerboard.
the one that's checkerboard.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the addition so that they can
Because it
rearrange.
doesn't look like we ever approved that little,
No, I apologize. Yes, you did.
okay.
Yeah, you did.
Because it's not included in the map on the top either.
The top one's for rezoning and the bottom one was for the special use permit.
Yeah.
So the top one was already, that little slither was already zoned CH. Therefore, it didn't need rezoning, so the top image just shows what was rezoned.
So apologies, if you're looking at the red surround, what you're seeing is the boundary of the rezoning, not the special use. If you look to the lower picture, the red encompasses the original rezoning of both of those parcels plus the special use permit boundary.
Okay.
And what we're adding in now is the checkerboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a little confused.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm blind,
It's
so what do you
visual, I
say?
know, and that's kind of small. I apologize. Next time I'll make them much bigger so it's a little easier to see.
Okay, I yield back.
All right, you yield back. Anyone else? Okay, Vice Chairman Robinson.
Just real quick, so again, we do know that there's what they call those co-location. Are you part of racetrack? Are you a separate entity? You just sharing the common space? How is your arrangement in that area?
It will be a separate entity, so technically our property line splits racetrack's driveway, I guess, so
Yep.
it's shared access with access easements.
You can cut through.
Can. But two separate entities.
Got it. That's all I need to know. I didn't have to get into your business arrangement. I just wanted to know how it worked. And, like we have restaurants and different gas stations. I just wanted to know for the record what this was. But I'm good with that. Madam Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for it? If not, I'll yield back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Chairman Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Planning and Zoning Board, you heard the presentations and discussions concerning this matter. Do I have a motion from the board?
Mr. Chairman. Go ahead, Brandon.
This is Brandon Penman. I make a motion to approve application S 2022-77, a request for special use with the findings and conditions as presented by staff.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, it's Kurt Nicholson. I second that.
Thank you. When I call your name, please raise your hand or state in the affirmative. Teresa Knoll,
Yay.
Ori Corey,
Yay.
Brandon Penniman,
Yay.
Frank Payne,
Yay.
Kirk Nichols,
Yes.
Rob Thomas, yes. We have a motion carried, 6-0. I yield back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much, Chairman Thomas. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to the full Board of Commissioners to accept the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board to approve S 2022-77.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, in unison. We have a motion and a second, Board. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. When I call you districts, please respond. District 2?
Yes.
District 3? Yes. District 4?
Yes.
Chairman, yes. We have a 4-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. And I yield back to you, Chairman Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Best wishes, guys.
Been approved.
Congratulations.
Keep it clean. All right, next item on agenda, please.
All right, the next item we have on the agenda is application S 2022-78. This is Juan Carlos Lozano. This is a request for a special use permit to allow a 1,500 square foot accessory building located at 7273 Mount Vernon Road in Lithia Springs, 30122. This is land lot 574, District 18, Section 2, and Parcel 3. The lot size is 1 acre, and this is Commission District Number 1. Here is the zoning map for the property. And here is the aerial image for the property. Here are some images of the property from the street. We bring this one to you this evening as it was referred to us by our building department. So this is a request for an oversized accessory building in the residential low-density zoning district. You are allowed to build an accessory building that is 1,000 square feet by right. Staff can administratively approve an additional 250 square feet. The building that you see here, which is the incomplete building sort of behind the residential structure, is 1,500 square feet, so that exceeds our authority to approve administratively and would require a special use permit. If the special use permit would be approved for this building, there would be some additional variances that would be required to the height and the setbacks for the building. This project was initiated without a building permit. It was identified by the building department when they were out in the field, and it was referred to us to see if there was a path forward to bring the structure into compliance because it was started without a permit, and therefore it doesn't meet the dimensional requirements that are otherwise authorized by the code. Staff has reviewed the criteria, and we have found that generally it supports the requested use. We are recommending denial of the special use based on the fact that it was initiated without a permit, and it far exceeds the dimensional requirements, including the requirement for the need for the variance for the setbacks and the height. However, we understand that if the board were inclined to approve, we have several conditions that we would recommend. Number one, we would recommend that the exterior facade materials of the structure shall match the existing residence, utilizing brick and cement plank materials, along with installation of appropriate landscaping to screen the structure. Number two, a variance for exceeding required setbacks and height limits shall be submitted and approved. And number three, all required building permit reviews, inspections, and approvals shall be obtained prior to the certificate of occupancy being issued for the accessory structure. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan. I will now open for the public hearing. Anyone in favor, including the applicant or the representative, wish to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you like. You have 2 minutes per person, total time of 15 minutes. This is for in favor of the application, including the applicant.
Good night, everybody. My name is Juan Carlos Lozano. This is my daughter, and I speak to English to help me and trust me.
Sure.
My address is 7273 Mount Vernon Road, Little Spring, Georgia, 30122. I work in construction, and you know, the material now is expensive, so I need something.
Can you speak up? Speak.
Yeah, speak directly into the mic, sir.
The materials is expensive now, so I go to the one remodel one house and left material in some third way. This is money, so I keep it in my house and the storage to the next job and sell money. This is storage and I have too many tools. Remodels is too many tools. I need space. Inside my house, I had 2 dogs, 2 daughters, my wife and me. This is why.
Any other comments? Okay. One other thing, they mentioned the conditions that was read into the record. Did you hear the conditions, and do you agree to them?
Yep.
Yes, you agree? All right, thank you. All right, you can have a seat. Anyone else in favor of this application? Okay, seeing none, I will now open the floor to opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you like. You have 2 minutes per person, with a total time of 15 minutes in opposition of this application. All right, seeing none, I will now close the public hearing. Planning and zoning, do you have any questions for the applicant or staff?
Mr. Chairman, this is Kurt Nicholson. I do have a couple of questions, please. Mr. Lozano, you said you were in construction.
Yeah, I work in construction, yeah.
Yeah, what type of construction work do you do?
Excuse me, what time?
What type? Are you general contractor, plumber,
A
electrician?
plumber, yeah, more plumber.
Okay. Commercial or residential?
I have both.
Both. So you're used to getting permits and things of that nature, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Stand by, sir. Maybe some other questions. Any other questions from the board?
It's Brandon Penham. I got a question. So, understanding the need for permits, can you give us a reasoning why you decided to go ahead and start building without permits?
No, I think there's no problem. When I start the building, I think it's small, and I don't know the size, you know. And when I go take the permit, I don't put the electrician. I put the permits for the plumbing, and my building I not have plumbing, so I don't know. That my first time. But I know for next time.
All right, thank you.
I have a quick question and comment. Now, I saw another building on your property, like 800 square feet, or is that correct? You have another accessory building?
There's my house and the garage.
Okay. Staff, can you clarify that? I thought we had another building on that property.
So this is the building that was referred to us by the building department. I do know that there was the reference made in the environmental health impact statement about the other small accessory building. So we can confirm, with the building department if there's anything else that would possibly require a variance or permit. It's possible that when this was discovered by the building department, Mr. Lozano did pull the permit for that. But again, I don't have a clear answer on that this evening. But this was the structure that is before you tonight was the structure that was referred to us by the building department as the one that they had identified was the one that was problematic for being constructed without a permit and for the one that was built over the setbacks and in violation of the other dimensional requirements.
So not only the violation of the square footage, 1,500, the maximum is 1,000, right? But also, you're going to need a variance because of setbacks, correct?
So they have filed their application to come before you at the December meeting. If the special use permit is granted this evening, then they will come back to the Planning and Zoning Board for variance at a regular December meeting. If for whatever reason the special use permit is not granted, then we will refund their application fees for their variance.
How much of a variance are they asking for?
I would have to double
You're
check.
not sure? Okay, I'm just curious.
I can pull it up and
I'm just
give
curious if
you
you knew about
that
it
answer.
offhand.
So,
Okay.
but I don't know it off the top of my head, but I'm glad to pull it up and give you that answer. So,
All right, thank you.
okay.
Let me speak with you again, sir. So you're saying you didn't know you needed to pull a permit. So who actually constructed this for you? Was it done by a third party or just some people that you knew?
No, my friends and me.
Okay, so friends and
Yeah.
kind of put it together. Okay.
And I put the permit and I already passed inspection, the foundation, the framing, the insulation, and the wrap. Only left the final inspection when it stopped me.
So doing these other inspections, your square footage never came up?
Nobody said me that. I have the little tick that already passed inspection.
So you have a CO letter? I mean, what do you mean past inspection? They came in, it was checking it as you were erecting the building, and it was checking as you were doing it, correct? That's how it works, okay. And no one said anything about, so they came out and looked at it, but no one said anything about it being too large as far as square footage?
No, and I see the sign, and the inspector laughing. When I see the sign, the inspector show me, this is your back size, this is your size, and your front. It's not the size of the building. They say, no, this is the size. I don't know.
So you didn't know until you actually came down to get, I mean, when did you find out? Was it code enforcement that told you? How did you find out? Okay.
Sí, con el inspector.
Okay, so code enforcement came out and said something to you, but the inspectors didn't say anything to you
No, no.
throughout this process? I see. Okay.
And teach me when I stop me, not before.
Okay. So how far have you gotten now with this building?
Almost finished.
You're almost finished?
Yeah.
Well, were you going to plumb it, or were you going to put?
No plumbing. Only
electric,
electrical.
plumbing, what are you going to put in it?
Only electrical.
Just electric?
Yeah.
Okay, no
and
plumbing?
Power, no? No plumbing.
Okay, just electrical, HVAC, nothing, any of that? Okay.
It's just a storage, but I need power, not for tools, sharp batteries.
Okay, you're using it for tools and things
Yeah.
like that. Okay, so really the issue is the square footage. That's it. And then the setbacks further down the road if it's approved. Okay. All right, I don't have any more questions. Planning and zoning, any other questions?
This is a two-story. Now, are you going to put your supplies and material on both stories?
I have tools, like little expensive, and I have on the second floor, and my office.
On the second floor?
And the second floor, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Madam Chair, I yield the floor to you, to the Board of Commissioners for questions.
Okay. Thank you so much, Board of Commissioners. At this time, do we have any questions? Vice Chairman.
All right, let me get this right. So I get you built it to a certain extent, and I need staff to help validate a couple of facts. Now, I'm listening to planning and zoning on this one for where they're leaning, but, so you got this far, and there's there's checkpoints along the way. I get certificates of occupancy, I get the plumbing, I get the inspection. So I want to come back to the inspectors. Are the inspectors our staff? Staff, can y'all answer that? Do we go out there and inspect him along the way, yes or no?
The building department, yes, sir. When they're called for inspection, they do come out and make inspections on the property.
Right, thank you. Second question is, there's typically some type of blueprint or some type of master plan, or, I mean, we talking about 1,200, no, you said 1,000, you're allowed to go up to 1,250, right?
Administratively, yes, sir, we can
Administratively,
approve up to
and then
12.
this is, got it, just following the facts, got it, we're good. How did it get this far?
So there was not a permit pulled.
Understand, but we were inspecting something where it wasn't a permit pulled. Did I get that right?
They did call for inspections for property that didn't have permit, and it was through that process that it was determined that it didn't have permit, it was over the setback lines. And then when it was referred to us, we identified that it exceeded what we could approve administratively and exceeded the height requirements for that district. So we worked with the applicant to see if there was a path forward to bring it into compliance.
Is there a path forward?
That is why we're here this evening. The first step would be to have the board approval of the special use permit for the oversized accessory building. And if that approval is granted, then the next step would be to come to the Planning and Zoning Board for the variances that would be required. And if those are approved, then the applicant would move forward to get all of the correct permits and inspections to ultimately obtain the CO. There is not a CO or a certificate of occupancy issued on the property at this time.
No, I got you, and thank you for laying that out. I followed you linear. So it got this far, we're trying to clean it up, I get it. Had it not been, if it would have been 1,250 feet, would you have approved it?
Yes, sir.
All right. So it's just the fact that it goes over that you're making, in other words, the board, the plant, these guys got to do it. Got it.
Yep.
Got it. But somewhere along the way, sometimes you think that when we talk about community, like, okay, so, and I get fair market, I get capitalism, I get, like, now y'all let this guy get that far? Ain't nobody giving no cover for this? Y'all done built this thing and got this man out here, and y'all take like, I just sitting here listening to this, but I get it. But everybody making their money? The engineers, the architect, everybody make their money? I get it. And I get you had your own team. I get it. I just, when I see situations like this, I like to shake my head. My spirit gets grieved because like, unfortunately. I get it. I mean, I'm good. I'm good in what I hear. You don't have to answer anything else. I just had to make that comment that we're trying to cure something, and I think that there is a path forward. I mean, just And I get it, you guys are now cleaning things up. You're doing what we're asking you to do, identifying things that are out of and bringing them in. So I do appreciate that and respect that. And you did answer, had it not gone beyond that, y'all would have done it administratively. We wouldn't, the board wouldn't have saw that. Y'all would have handed through planning and going through y'all normal process. Got it. I followed. That's all I needed.
Thank
I'm
you.
good, Madam Chair. I yield.
Any other questions, board? Okay, Commissioner Guyder, let me see your hand.
Is this building, is it on, is it built up any at all, or is it on a slab?
Isn't this lab?
It's on a slab, and it's 2 stories.
Yeah.
Well, and to the staff, y'all are not recommending approval of this?
So generally speaking, we have in the past recommended, when something is just in clear violation of the code, built without permits, we feel that it is our requirement to recommend denial, right?
Even though it's already built? 90%, 80%?
So it is our recommendation to deny, but we recognize that if you are inclined to approve it, we are suggesting that there are conditions that could mitigate, the fact that it is already built. And this is a recommendation that we have made, consistently when other things have been brought before you that are clearly not consistent, with the code. So this was our recommendation for the building that you heard last month that was, again, constructed without permits in violation of the code. This was our recommendation on the metal-sided buildings. Won't belabor that point, but generally speaking, we do feel that it is the responsibility of staff to acknowledge where something is in clear violation of our code, but we also recognize that the reason it comes to you is because the discretion is granted in this board to provide relief, and should you deem that appropriate, we recommend that there are some conditions that are appropriate to do that.
And how big is the building again?
It's 1,500 square feet.
And 1,250 is the limit, but y'all can only do up to 1,000. Y'all can just approve up to 1,000 variants or something.
We can 1,000 is what is approved by right, and then we have the discretion under the code to administratively approve an additional 250 in this particular zoning classification, but it would exceed our authority to go over the 1,250. And because the structure is 1,500, it comes to y'all.
50 feet, 250 square feet.
Yes, ma'am.
Bigger. But that could be upstairs.
It could be, yes, ma'am.
So it may not be, I think it's due to the impervious surface and the water runoff, right?
So the way that the code is written, we only are allowed, the 1,250 square feet. It's not kind of like a floor area.
Okay, I thought it had something to do with the span of the roof.
Not in this zoning district that I'm aware of. No.
Because I had another case that it was already built, and they measured the rooftop because of the runoff. So I'm a little confused.
Okay.
I can't see us saying tear it down.
I
He's
understand.
got a lot of expense. And this is for excess material that you may be waiting to use for a job, or maybe was left over from a job, and your tools.
Yeah,
And you have an office upstairs.
Yeah, my office.
But-
My office tools and material.
Okay. And how many acres do you have?
1.09.
Okay, are you in any kind of a subdivision?
No,
No?
no subdivision.
It's on just an individual lot?
Yeah.
And what's the name of the street?
Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, you know that you have to come before this board if you build another building.
I know now.
You do now?
I know now.
Okay. I know we have a lot of accessory buildings out around the county. Probably never got a permit or anything. And so, but we do need to educate the inspection office that, the size of the building matters here, so that the right hand knows what the left hand's doing, okay? So maybe we can have a conversation with them. All right, and with that, I yield back, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. Any other questions, board? I just had a question when our chair of the P&Z just broached a question, and I wanted to see if you have an answer. The building, is it 750 square feet at the top, on the top level, and then 750 on the bottom level, or is the entire building, what's the square footage of
Yeah,
it?
I think it's the same. Yeah, it's the same, yeah. 750 and 750.
Yes, okay, good. Okay, thank you. I yield back to you, Chairman.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Planning and Zoning Board, you've heard the presentations and discussion concerning this matter. Do I have a motion from the board? Don't make me answer again. I have a motion from the board.
This is Brandon Penman. I make a motion to approve application S-2022-78 with a request for a special use permit to allow a lot size extension on an existing accessory unit in the RLD zoning district with the following conditions as, have they been read in by staff? As read in by staff.
Thank you.
Or Curry, second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Planning and Zoning Board, I will ask at this time to raise your hand for approval of this motion. Thank you. I yield the floor back to Madam Chair with approval, 6-0, for approval of the planning of the S 2022-78.
Okay, thank you so much, Chairman Thomas. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to accept the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board to approve S 2022-78.
Okay.
With the conditions as stated.
Do we have a
Second.
second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. When I call you districts, please respond. District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
Chairman, yes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries to approve. Thank you so much, and I yield back to you, Chairman Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Congratulations, you've been approved. All right.
You're
Next
welcome.
agenda item, please.
Mr. Vice Chair, the next item is S 2022-81, special use permit for Jeff Robinson. The request is for a special use permit to allow an event center located at 3615 Houston Street, Lithia Springs, 30122, in Land Lot 320, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 44. Lot size is .3 acres. Application signed by Jeff Robinson. This one's in Commission District 1. The property is located on the north side of Houston Street with Highway 78 fronting the other side of the property, which is the bank side of the property. The site is developed with a bank fronting Veterans and a commercial building fronting Houston, which is the subject of tonight's application. The entry driveway along Houston for the existing parking area also serving this building. The bank building was constructed in 1971 with some additions in 72. The smaller commercial building, the subject of this evening's request, was added in 1985, and that building, which has been used for many years by the bank as a meeting center and for town meetings, little meetings in the neighborhood, is 2,100 square feet. The staff processed a lot split to create the property in 2022. In order for that to be approved, the applicant did go through a variance process for side yard setback and front yard setback. As the building was built many years ago, it predates some of our current regulations for setbacks. And so we did process that. It was approved under V2022-13 in August of 2022. The community room and the business meeting center has been used as that function for many years by the bank. Again, the fire marshal will determine the maximum occupancy rating for the building when we get around to a business license review process as part of the approval for an occupational permission to conduct the business. The current parking area provides 16 on-premise parking spaces. The bank provides additional parking for non-banking hours, of course, another 24 spaces approximately. The other piece of this, here's the zoning map and a survey of the property to show that the property was in fact recorded as a lot split plat. Here is the aerial of the site and a close-up of the property itself to show the parking spaces. When we split the property, we maintained the parking spaces along with the building to the south. And what you'll see here, I just want to show you a street view of the property. This next street view shows you the property is the building to the left, and as you can see, this is the drive lane coming off of the bank's drive-up windows. So the parking that you see right in your foreground there belongs to this new event center and is part of that property. So he has access to those limited number of parking spaces for the events that he will conduct there. Here's another shot of the bank's parking that is behind. To the far end is Veterans Memorial at the far end. And so you get an idea of, there is some excess parking if you were to hold events that would require some additional parking. In non-banking hours, he would have access to those spaces. It's a shared parking agreement currently in place. The special use permit criteria all support the requested use. Staff is recommending approval of the special use request with the findings that the use will not modify the land use plan or the intent, purpose, or spirit of the Douglas County Unified Development Code, and B, the granting of the special use permit will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. There are some conditions I would ask of you. Condition number 1, all events shall be managed such that no vehicles shall be parked in the public right-of-way. Should large events be booked, additional off-premise parking agreements may be required to allow sufficient spaces for all the attendees. We are limiting operational hours and asking condition number 2 be operational hours be limited to 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Number 3, events requiring food preparation service will require additional review and permitting by the health department. Number 4, the operation will require a business license through the occupational tax department for the event and convention venue. Number 4, the lot combination plat has already been facilitated. Number 5, the applicant must present their plans for compliance with these conditions and any other applicable portions of the Unified Development Code to the Douglas County Development Review Committee, and which shall have this discretion to direct staff to schedule the zoning action to be returned to the Planning and Zoning Board and Board of Commissioners to consider zoning the property at the next regularly scheduled meeting should he fail to come into compliance with any of the required UDC requirements. And then we're scheduled to go out at the anniversary just to verify at the 1 year that he's complied with all the code requirements. And with that, I turn it back over to you, Mr. Vice Chairman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Schaefer. I'm now going to open up the public hearing. Anyone in favor, including the applicant or their representative, wishing to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Then make any comments you would like. You have 2 minutes per person with a total of 15 minutes. In favor.
Yes, my name is Jeff Robinson. My address is 5080 Wild Oak Trail, Douglasville, Georgia.
Thank you, sir. Are you the applicant?
Yes, sir.
Are you in agreement with the conditions that were read into by the staff?
Yes, sir. I want to commend the staff. They really did a great job. I want to commend the staff and your planning and zoning department. I've been in this business for about 20 years. And I want to say this was one of the most simplest processes to work through. And I think they did an outstanding job, so I just want to thank y'all for that. Regardless of the outcome, I still want to thank you.
All right,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you for that. We appreciate that, yes. Any other comments you'd like to make pertaining to it? You want to discuss it?
The only thing I would like to add is it's an existing building. As indicated by Mr. Schaefer, the building was used by Regions Bank, and all Regions Bank did was cut the building off from their purse string and add it to someone else because they're no longer in that type of business that's provided services to the community. They're going to focus on business, and they basically just sold the building for someone else to consume the same thing that they was doing.
Okay, understand. Thank you. Anyone else here in favor of this applicant? All right, seeing none, I will now open the floor to opposition to this application. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of the application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you would like. You have 2 minutes per person for a total time of 15 minutes. Opposition to this application? Okay. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Planning and zoning, are there any questions for the applicant or staff?
Yes, Mr. Curry, could you, Kirk, could you?
You want to speak to the applicant?
The applicant, yes.
Applicant, can you please come up, please? Thank you.
So a question is, since you're obtaining this facility, what do you plan to do with the facility?
Event center,
Uh-huh.
they have plans to do things for kids, birthday parties, and the bank also have some requests for community meetings. And also there's long-term plan to do DUI classes, alcohol and drug abuse training for the citizens in the area as well. There's nothing in that area for that.
Okay, nothing there, so it's gonna be, okay, gotcha.
Community-based.
Community-based, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Yes. Just one. Okay. All right, hearing no other questions, I will now pass it over to Madam Chair for any questions from the Board of Commissioners.
Okay. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions? Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
Yeah, be quick. All right, real quick. So how many square feet is this meeting space?
The building's listed at 2,100 square feet.
2,100 square feet. I heard the parking. I'm okay with that. And are you going, to the applicant, are you controlling all events that go on, or are you renting out your space?
Let me make sure I understand the question. Can you rephrase
Yeah,
the question?
are you using this space that you now are getting, you're about to get perhaps approved? Are you renting out your space, you own it, and you're renting it out to other people, or are you going to solely control the events?
Combination.
Gotcha. No problem. Got it. And free market, I understand. I guess my last question is that why are we binding him to 10 o'clock versus midnight like some of the other areas? Is there a reason?
Just that there's still residential zoning across the street.
Okay.
That was the main reason. And I realize when you look at across the street, it's residentially zoned. There are businesses in some of those homes, but it is still residentially zoned. So technically, homeowners might complain if the business was carrying out till midnight.
But did they complain? And about consistency, it's a community center. You know what event space we need here in this county? And I'm just listed across all these little assets. I'm like, okay, now why are we putting a prohibition here? 10 to 12. I'm like, why are we cutting him off? We're doing it discretionarily because we see those residents and they may complain, but they haven't. It's that admissible right now. I can't speak to somebody who I'm just in that moment. Like, why we do that? Did we arbitrarily apply that? Is there some type of code that says that we must limit him to 10 o'clock versus 12 o'clock? So let me ask a question. Is it an issue for you? Do you want to be open to 12 or like other things, or are you okay with the 10? Let me just start there.
The application submitted to 12. That I submitted was to 12.
Ah, the plot thickens. I see. You got to pay attention. So, I get it. But nobody complained, nobody's here. Other businesses are over there. And so we're back to overextend, we overextend sometime. We arbitrarily determine how we nudge things. Uh-huh. I caught that one, like, okay, but why are you limited in this? All right. I'm going to yield for right now. Wait till I come back around. I do think that there should be consistency. So if there's a change, I'll let my peers weigh in if they choose or not. But I think we need to be consistent. If that was the application to 12, it's being suggested by 10, but there's no reason why we got to do 10. It's because we may think that they may complain. I don't think that's a basis in which I could support staff saying, well, based on what? Did they complain? If they did, then okay. But just to, I got it. I yield, Madam Chair. I'm good.
Commissioner Guider?
Yes, staff, this was posted? Posted?
Correct?
Yes. So the neighbors saw the signs out there, but on the sign, it says nothing about the time of operation. Did y'all have any kind of meeting with the,
We had our community meeting. No
was
one-
there any complaints?
No attendance at that meeting to complain.
So if they're not concerned, why should we be?
Well, your noise ordinance does restrict you to 10 PM in 1171.
Our noise.
The Code of Ordinances noise ordinance states 10 PM.
Will there be loud music going on?
It's an event center. If he was having birthday parties, I would assume there would be noise if there were
Well,
other events.
But could we stipulate the noise has to cut down at 10?
Well, you have that power already. It's a 65 decibel limit at the
Pardon?
property line. You have a 65 decibel limit at the property line in your Code of Ordinances already. And just to reiterate, in deference to Commissioner Robinson's comment, we did have another case come through for special use permits for training purposes. For instance, there was a bakery. They were going to hold classes. I've been consistent at 10 PM for all the few that I've done over the last 4 years. Just because 10 PM seemed reasonable. This is 7 days a week potentially. And I didn't know in my own mind on a Sunday at midnight, do we really want to have an event going on across the street from someone trying to get ready, sleep for work the next morning? I'm just trying to be deferential to the residents that live there currently. Not that they would complain now, but just that's how I viewed it. But you're welcome to, my recommendation is just that. You can certainly approve something different.
Do you know how many occupants this building can hold by the, in regards to the fire marshal?
I'd have to leave the fire marshal to go make his final inspection for the, when he does the occupancy rating for the business license. But the way it's normally done, it's 50 occupants per linear foot of door entry. So when you start to look at the front door, and I don't have the front door entry measurements, but that would be the limiting factor, is how many people can safely exit a building through a door width, and you get 50 people per linear foot of doorway. So if it's a 36-inch doorway, you could have potentially 150 feet.
Well, do you have a back door? Is there a back door
I'd have
to
to
it?
ask Mr. Robinson if the back door was available. I did not see one, but
Yes, there's a back door there, and there's also another event center across the street, and there's also a commercial building across the street, and there's only like one residence right there.
What are their hours? Does anybody know? There's an event, it'd be bad for us to set different hours for different event centers in the same neighborhood.
and you have absolute discretion. I only recommend it. I mean,
Okay.
you can certainly, whatever you would like to approve, you have the power.
And also, does it have a kitchen? Are you going to be cooking?
It has a kitchen but no stove. We won't be doing any cooking.
There with the stove. Okay, so they bring their own food if they're going to have a birthday party or whatever.
But no cooking, because of what he indicated on his provisions, the health department is not for cooking. It's basically for special events, 1 to 2 hours. They do some training on the weekend, childcare training classes, drug and alcohol training classes. And maybe some pop-up community meetings, because we work with the church in that area. We have another commercial building directly across the street. So we're pretty familiar with that.
But will there be?
Mr.
events?
Robinson, excuse me, point of order. Can I just come up to the podium, please? Thank you.
Will there be events with loud music,
Not after.
like dancing or
No.
something?
The music won't be loud there because that setting is not for loud music.
And
That's
do you-
more so a daytime event. It won't be a lot of loud music.
So do you have a liquor license?
No, I do not.
And are you anticipating a liquor license?
A liquor license won't be applied for that particular location. If you conduct an event, that event can purchase its own liquor license going through the proper channels.
For a special event?
Right.
Okay. All right, I yield back.
Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Carthen?
Mr. Robinson, you're going to get your exercise tonight.
I'm the last one, so I'm okay, I'm good with it.
Okay, good.
We ready to go home.
So, just by the way you're answering questions, you will be managing this facility, and you've managed other facilities like this, I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
I'm not the manager exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, the manager would be Broadway Event Center.
Broadway Event Center,
Yeah.
okay. This
I'm-
is,
I'm just the builder to make the things happen so they can execute.
okay, so you're the one designing and laying
Right,
out.
working with the contractors to get the building into compliance, to go through the zoning, work with the staff. I'm the guy that do the work, and then I only get involved if the train come off strike.
Got you, so you're the program manager, and,
Right.
okay, got you. Thank you. I yield, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other questions, board? If not, I yield back to you, Chairman Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Planning and Zoning Board, you heard the presentation and discussions concerning this matter. Do I have a motion from the board?
I have, Ord Curry, I have a motion to approve applicant S2 2022-81, a special request for a special use with the findings and conditions by staff, but the question that I have on this one is the hours. Do I need to look at making something to restrict, say the hours can go to 12?
Sure.
Okay. Because this is something new to me, so I just want to make sure that I'm not stepping above. And I don't know if we have the attorney back there or not, but I know they did it for 10, so I'm just requesting for 12.
You can make the motion for 12 p.m.
Okay,
so that the
I'll make
hours
the
are-
motion for 12 p.m.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Curry. I have a second?
Frank Payne, second.
Thank you. All right, members, in favor of this motion, please raise your hand. Thank you. Madam Chair, I turn it back over to you with a unanimous vote to approve S 2021-81 with the change of the hours till 12 p.m.
Thank you so much, Chairman Thomas. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve S 2022-81 with an amendment to the condition to mean 12 a.m.?
12 midnight.
12 a.m.?
Thank
12
you.
midnight.
12 a.m. versus 12 p.m. So I'm correctly amending you guys.
Okay,
Y'all
thank
got
you,
me?
thank you.
I made a motion for 12 a.m.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what he did.
The
his
condition
motion.
was from 10 to 12 p.m.
But it's
Yeah.
12
Yeah,
a.m.
at 12 a.m.
It's 12 a.m.
Yeah, in the midnight.
Starts a new day.
Not noon,
12
midnight.
starts a new day.
I made a
Okay,
mistake.
I would have said midnight.
That's
But that's what you're talking about. 12.
Okay. We have a second from Commissioner Carthen. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. When I call you districts, please respond. District 2?
Yes.
District 3? Yes. District 4?
Yes.
Chairman, yes. We have a 4 unanimous vote, and the motion carries to approve S 2022-81. Congratulations, Mr. Robinson. I yield the floor. Back
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
It's been a long day.
Mr. Robinson, you've been approved, and
Good luck.
have fun.
Keep it clean.
Yeah, keep it clean, man.
Gotta tell everybody.
12 a.m. now, not p.m. All right. Next agenda item, please.
All right, the next item we have on the agenda are 2 text amendments, and we will withdraw the text amendments to Article 3. These text amendments were being presented under the assumption that there were some previous amendments to the Code of Ordinances that would be adopted by the Board of Commissioners. Those amendments did not go forward, and so we are withdrawing the text amendments to Article 3 of the Unified Development Code, but we still have some amendments to Article 12 of the Unified Development Code, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Schaefer to present those.
Mr. Vice Chair, so Article 12, acceptance of public improvements. We were asked by the Department of Transportation to slightly modify provision 6 within Section 1233, so that the Director of Transportation would be able to approve deeds, rather than have to bring the physical deeds back to you as the Board of Commissioners for approval every time he gets one. We will say it in the following way: notwithstanding anything herein to the contrary, dedication of proposed public right-of-way, easements, and improvements shall be subject to approval by the Board of Commissioners. So we're dropping off the instrument that you would have to approve so that DOT can actually file the deeds in a timely fashion that they need to file. You will already have seen the plat, and you will have approved the plat and the dedications thereof in terms of seeing the preliminary plat approval process. So this is just to take the deed, which is an exact document that he has to bring to you, and taking it out of the requirement to bring you the deed. You'll still approve the right-of-way, you'll still approve easements, but not the deed itself. Let the staff deal with the deeds themselves as they get recorded and approved by staff technically, rather than you have to review those each time one comes in. You see them generically. The second request is to add a piece number 7, the process of vacating rights-of-way, vacating easements, vacating recorded subdivisions, plats, and changing road names shall be subject to approval by the Board of Commissioners. And I will tell you, in about 35 years of me practicing planning, this is the first jurisdiction I've ever run across that does not have these processes in place. We've run across this a couple of times this last year where we needed to vacate right-of-way. There's no formal process for vacating right-of-way in our code anywhere. So apologies for Miguel having to come up to you and try to deal with nothing that exists as a process and create it. I'm asking you to add this into this section so we can create the processes needed to bring you the petitions that would seek a road name change or a vacation of a plat or a vacation of an easement. I can deal with some of it in the plat process, but that's not really what it should be. When you approve a plat and we record a plat, you should see a vacation of that plat to allow a clean slate to come across. The other reason I need to create the process for you is if you vacate a right-of-way, that's going back to private ownership. What is it going to be zoned? And so we need to deal with that piece of it as well. And that's why I would like to ask you to just to deal with that ahead of time. I'll go ahead and we'll write up all those processes. I'll clear it with Miguel for the pieces that are DOT, but those need to exist so that we can move forward. There's a lot of subdivision activity that's been approved but never built on. We're still feeling, well, okay, you approved right-of-way, now they want to redesign the subdivision. What do you do with the old right-of-way that was dedicated and already deeded to the county? I got 356 square feet I need to come to you to vacate for a subdivision right now. That's ridiculous. So you kind of follow, that's what we're trying to get at, is ease the process in. We'll write it up. I'll bring you the full process as a code amendment next year. But I just wanted to get this on the books now, as this is something we'd like to do. And with that, I yield back to you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. I will now open the public hearing for anyone in favor, including the applicant, I guess in this case, staff. Representative wishing to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you would like. You have 2 minutes per person for a total time of 15 minutes. In favor? Hearing none, seeing nobody moving. Now I'm going to open the floor to opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you would like. Have 2 minutes per person for a total time of 15 minutes. Opposition. Okay. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Planning and zoning, you have any questions for staff? Okay. Hearing none. Madam Chair, I yield the floor to you, the board members, for any questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Chairman Thomas. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant or the staff?
I got one, Madam Chair.
Vice Chairman Robinson, you
All right,
have the floor.
We'll be very quick. All right, so I get it. I get efficiency. I get speed. I get, thank you guys for curing it and making the process better. It's more of a legal question. It's just the simplicity of, okay, so the deed comes in and the physical instrument never has to come to me. Am I exposed that that deed gets away? Is there a safeguard? When we talk about the physical deed, what happens? Like, where's my chain of custody? Do I still have assurance that I get speed? It's business. Where the deed at? But not the physical instrument. I watch too much American Greed. I watch too much stuff and I get it. This is business. Attorney. Are we exposed by not seeing this? In other words, if there's a chain of custody, I'm good. I mean, great process improvement, but I need the question answered. The physical instrument, listen what he said, the physical instrument never comes back to the Board of Commissioners. In essence, whatever they're going to do, file it, whatever. I just and I get the role of the Director of Transportation. I get he's statutory. I get his power. He knows I get it. I just want somebody to tell me, make me feel good about it. County Attorney, you out there?
He's right here. Yeah,
Can you
he's at the
answer,
podium.
please, sir?
I am Vice Chair. I think that the proposed process will help improve the process and improve things. I think with respect to the deed itself,
yes, sir.
It's not like a contract where you are agreeing to do something and somebody else is going to do something in exchange. It's a conveyance document. So it would need to have legal review, and I think we've talked about that, and we suggested that during this process, that we review it to make sure that there are no obligations in the deed, for example, reversion, things in the deed that could be a problem. We could take a look at it without it coming to the board, just build that into the process. That's likely what would happen anyway. So I think that's, just to have your lawyer to look at it will probably give you the protection that you need. If it were a contract, then you'd be required to have the board approve it. But it not being a contract, I think it's okay legally for it to be approved by the staff. But I would recommend that it be subject to legal review.
There you go. Right. I get the contract. Thank you for clarifying that so lawyers, somebody's going to touch this on the board's behalf to ensure, just as a safety net, just as a safeguard. And I'd like that to be part of the condition to state it. So everything you just said, ensuring that we're going to have a legally, administratively look at this. All right, Madam Chair, that's all I want to say. I yield.
Okay. Thank you so much, County Attorney.
And just to actually reinforce that, Commissioner Robinson.
Sure.
I will be bringing you a preliminary plat in a couple of weeks, and that will be the language in the preliminary plat approval, subject to legal review, will be in the recommendation from staff. Each time we bring you a preliminary plat, you'll be accepting the preliminary certificate of plat approval and the dedication of rights-of-way, easements, and anything else subject to technical and legal review.
Technical and legal review, which include the word deed. You didn't say deed.
Yeah.
Deed?
We will include that.
Planning zoning, y'all heard that? I'll let y'all lead it. Madam Chair, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you, staff. I yield, Madam Chair.
Okay, any other questions, board or
Just-
comments? Commissioner Guider?
Just clarification, the deed is going to still be recorded in the clerk of the
Absolutely.
court.
Yes,
You're going to have a copy of it.
absolutely.
And it's going to be in the file.
It'll be in the files of the
And
deed.
someone has read the meets and the bounds of that deed.
And made sure it matches what we're
Okay,
getting. Yeah.
thank you. I yield back.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or remarks? I yield back to you, Chairman Thomas.
Thank you. Planning and Zoning Board, you heard the presentation and discussion concerning this matter. Do I have a motion from the board? This is an easy one. Do you have a motion from the board? Hammer down.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to approve the text amendment to Article 3,
No, please.
excuse me, Article 12 as presented by staff.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Or Curry, second.
Okay, I have a second. Thank you. Members in favor of this motion, please raise your hand. All right, see a not unanimous. I yield the floor back to Madam Chair with approval, 6-0, unanimous, in approval of the Article 12.
Okay, thank you so much, Chairman Thomas. Board of Commissioners, you've heard the questions and answers. Do we have a motion? Anybody can take it.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I make a motion to approve the text amendments to Article 12.
Okay.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. When I call your districts, please respond. District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
Chairman, yes. We have a full unanimous vote, and the motion carries. And I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Thomas.
Thank you. I think that's the last item on the agenda. And before we close, I would like to just to say thank you to Ms. Ann Geiger from District 4. This is going to be her last Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Thank you for her service of, I don't know, 20 years, is it? Plus years?
42.
42, okay.
But not on this board.
Not on this board, but definitely a service to our community. So we thank you for that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's been my pleasure. Some of the meetings have been very interesting. It's been a learning process, and I just want to highly thank the staff for all they do. This is not easy. This is probably harder than being a commissioner sometimes. But I thank y'all for being so diligent in your work and your research and everything. And this board, I've made some friends, new friends, and I've enjoyed working with you. Thank you.
All right. And certainly, Commissioner Guy, on behalf of the Board of Commissioners and myself, we'd just like to thank you for your service. And you served 12 years, correct?
Yes.
12 years, making decisions for planning and zoning, and you are correct. It is tougher than, it's harder than being a commissioner, because you have to decide, and you make a decision that impact lives on a daily basis, and I appreciate your service. And I know you have indicated you don't want a lot of fanfare, but you know, whenever I'm involved in something, there will be fanfare. So buckle up, and the night is still young. You have, how many days left? Is it 30 days before 30 days? So we have some exciting things coming for you. Yeah, December 31st. So some excitement is coming, so thank you for your years of service. It's very much appreciated.
It has been my pleasure to serve the people of Douglas County.
Thank you. All right, I
Madam
yield,
Chair.
okay. I would certainly want to yield the floor to our commissioners to allow some words. There you go, Vice Chair, you have the floor.
I just want you also to acknowledge one of our key staff members that's also retiring, Miguel Valentin. I'll let you do that, Madam Chair, to acknowledge him.
Oh, yes,
because he's-
absolutely.
I mean, do your thing.
Oh, absolutely. Director Valentin, you know this is bittersweet for me. You certainly have been a game changer in Douglas County, and your footprint is all over the place. Everything that you've done has been nothing but magic. So thank you for your years of service. I believe you said you would give us, you had 5 on it, so you gave us 5 good years. And I am so grateful to have served with you, and I know the Board of Commissioners echo my sentiments. I mean, you have used my words and made those words come true. You've changed Douglas County from ordinary to extraordinary. I mean, I just can't believe what my eyes have seen you do, and I just appreciate everything, and certainly wanted to yield to the board to allow them to have a few words and say some good things about you. But I'm telling you, you will be missed, but we certainly have someone here to fill your shoes. Rana, am I saying your name correctly? I want to make sure we know that you are ready to hit the ground running and to take the mantle and the baton as our dear Miguel Valentin, our director, will be retiring, and he knows that I'm very jealous right now, but I know that you will save some sand on the beach for all of us. Have fun, and wish you well. You have just exceeded the expectations of the state of Georgia by everything you've done, and I truly appreciate it, and this board as well. And I'll yield to our transportation chairman, Vice Chairman Kelly Robinson, to let him say some words. I know he's going to miss you dearly as well.
Well, this won't be the last time. I'm going to reserve my comments till we send you off with the Board of Commissioners. I just want to make sure you're acknowledged because this is a key board as well that you play with. And so for that, you need to be acknowledged. So thank you for your service, but I still got more comments later when we take the full floor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes. Commissioner Guy, do you want to say anything to him regarding the planning and zoning? I guess we can listen.
I just say, you mean to Miguel? I've enjoyed working with you, Miguel. I like Randy, but I like you too. So after all, you do pave our roads. So anyway, I wish you the best in your retirement. Is December 31st going to be your? Okay. I wish you the best. Don't get lazy. Maybe consult or something. So I do wish you very much happiness in your retirement. But don't just sit around and watch TV and play games. I'm not. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Carthen, you have just for the planning and zoning parting words, and then we have much more to come for you as well. You know, fanfare is my favorite. Commissioner Carthen.
Thank you, Miguel. Enjoy. I'll miss you, but I think you already know that. So. I yield.
All right, your body of work is irrefutable. You have done more than most will ever do in this county. So thank you. All right, I'll yield the floor back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And with that, I adjourn the Planning and Zoning Board and turn over to the Board of Commissioners.
All right, Board of Commissioners, if there's nothing else to come before this body, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Boom.